Oh yeah, and we back. You know what time it is. It's time for the crime. So we're gonna kick it off with one I think is one of the most controversial crimes of all times. We're gonna kick it to what happened over there in Las Vegas, where I'm at right now at the Mandalay Bay. So kick back, let's see what's popping.
It's October 1st, 2017. More than 22,000 people are enjoying a concert in an open-air venue in Las Vegas. At 10:05 p.m., automatic gunfire rings out above the music. Over the next 11 minutes, as people scramble to run away, a shooter on the 32nd floor of the nearby Mandalay Bay Hotel will fire more than 1,000 live rounds at the crowd. To this day, it's the deadliest mass shooting committed by a single person in American history. This is how it happened. Stephen Craig Paddock had an ordinary life, but only on the surface. When Paddock was 7 years old, his mother told him and his brothers that their father had died in a car accident, and they moved to California. In reality, their father, a diagnosed psychopath, was arrested for robbing a bank, and after escaping prison, he became one of the FBI's 10 most wanted criminals. They never saw him again. Growing up, Paddock was fiercely independent, and he didn't much care for friends. But he was analytical, good with numbers, and he knew it. After studying accounting, Paddock wanted to make money. Real money. After working at the post office, the IRS, and as an auditor for defense contractors, he was able to save enough money to buy a 30-unit apartment complex in California. Anytime Paddock became interested in something, he approached it with relentless focus. Real estate was no different. He would buy undervalued properties, remodel them, and rent them out. He was a good landlord.
Cayenne,
he
what
kept
up?
rents reasonable, he knew his tenants' names, and he taught himself how to install air conditioners, fix plumbing, handle electrical wiring, and do carpentry. Whenever his tenants needed something, he often fixed it himself. Over the years, Paddock built a small empire of properties, many of them generating him hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. In 2012, he even sold a 111-unit building in Texas for around $14.4 million. But in 2015, when Paddock was 62, he decided to retire. He sold his company and his personal home and moved to a retirement community in a quiet Nevada town called Mesquite. Paddock chose to retire here for a very specific reason. Throughout his life, he had sustained a quiet but steady gambling habit, and 81 miles, or an hour-and-a-half drive away from that quiet town, was the city of Las Vegas. Despite having a modest lifestyle, Paddock lived for the casinos. Hotels often gave him complimentary rooms and concierge services, knowing he'd spend heavily. MGM Resorts even extended him a $100,000 line of credit so he could play in their casinos. One time, he spent 4 months straight in a Vegas hotel, gambling almost every single day. But unlike most gamblers, Paddock wasn't reckless. As with anything he took seriously, he approached it methodically. He played video poker, a game that allowed for strategy. He studied the odds and tried to beat the system. Sometimes, he even succeeded. Paddock also had another hobby, firearms. But he never used them publicly or for sport. He was just a collector. Around this time, Paddock was living with his girlfriend, a woman from the Philippines. In their first years together, she described him as quiet but kind and caring. These days, he was mostly quiet. She said he seemed depressed. It's impossible to know exactly what was going on in Paddock's mind. From the outside, he may have looked like an unremarkable man living out his retirement quietly. But at some point around this time, he made a fateful decision. In October 2016, Paddock turned his attention back to guns. Over the years, he'd collected 29 of them, mostly
LA.
handguns and shotguns, but this time he was buying rifles, dozens of them. To his girlfriend, this was a good sign. Paddock hadn't shown real interest in anything for months, and she just assumed this was just a renewed passion for his hobby. The next year, Paddock bought her a flight to the Philippines so she could visit her family, and gave her $150,000 to buy a house there. Then, alone, he began carrying out a plan he'd been working on for nearly a year. Today, some threats aren't as obvious as gunfire. Every search and every click reveals tiny pieces of who you are online. In fact, there's an entire $389 billion industry of data brokers who scour the internet for people's names, phone numbers, emails, addresses, and browser history, and then sell it for a profit to broker lists, but for you. When you sign up to off hundreds of specific data to protect yourself to October 1st, Stephen Paddock's movements became increasingly deliberate. He spent much of the time traveling between his home in Mesquite and the Ogden Hotel in downtown Las Vegas, coming in and out with large suitcases and trash bags. He flew to Arizona to get more rifles. He bought armor-piercing rounds from an ammunition dealer in Reno. He tested weapons in the middle of the desert. On September 25th, he checked into the Mandalay Bay Hotel in Vegas. On the 27th,
that's the Vegas
he asked to be
dude.
moved to a room with a better view. The hotel upgraded him to the Vista Suite on the 32nd floor. It had 2 adjoining rooms, numbers 134 and 135, at the very end of the hallway on the building's 100 wing. Paddock spent the next few days at the Mandalay Bay's casino and driving back and forth from Mesquite. Between gambling sessions, he brought large suitcases from his car up to his room, 23 in total. On Saturday, September 30th, he drove back home. That weekend, Las Vegas was hosting the Route 91 Harvest Music Festival, a 3-day country music event held in the Las Vegas Village, a large outdoor venue directly across the street from the Mandalay Bay Hotel. From Paddock's suite on the 32nd floor, the entire site was visible. The festival would end on Sunday night, October 1st, with a closing performance by country star Jason Aldean. Thousands of locals, tourists, families, and couples would attend. At around 2 a.m. the day of the concert, Paddock left Mesquite and drove back to the Mandalay Bay. He gambled in the casino for a few hours, and then returned to his suite and slept through the morning. At around 12:30 p.m., he brought up a few extra suitcases from his car. He ordered room service and asked the employee to leave the cart behind. Unusual maybe, but nothing to think twice about. After that, Paddock didn't leave his room. He just stayed inside, waiting. At approximately 9:18, Mandalay Bay security officer Jesus Campos is making his usual rounds when he receives an alert coming from the hotel's service optimization system. This software keeps track of nearly every electronic component inside the building: elevators, lights, motion sensors, and guest room locks. Campos is dispatched to inspect 5 rooms that had triggered alarms. The last one on his route is on the 32nd floor. Down on the ground, country star Jason Aldean starts his concert. Thousands of people are gathered to see him. By 9:46, Campos has only one room left to check, room 129 on the 32nd floor. To reach it, he takes the service stairway up from floor 30, but when he reaches the door to the hallway, it doesn't open. This is unusual. The service stairway is meant to stay open in case of emergencies. The doors don't even have locks. Campos has to find out what's blocking the door, so he goes back down the stairs and takes the main elevator up. On his way, he checks the final room he was assigned. But when he reaches the service stairway, he finds something that's not supposed to be there. The door has been bolted shut. This is no accident, so using a nearby phone, Campos calls hotel security and reports the issue. The time is 10:04 p.m. On the other side of that wall, Stephen Paddock is standing by the window, holding a rifle modified for rapid automatic gunfire. At 10:05, he fires 2 single shots into the crowd. Then, he switches to fully automatic and opens fire. As Campos starts walking back, he passes a room service cart, but doesn't notice it has 2 hidden cameras pointing at opposite sides of the hallway. They're connected with a wire to a laptop inside Paddock's suitcase, and he's watching the feed in real time. As he's walking back, Campos hears what he thinks is a loud drilling sound coming from the Vista Suite. All of a sudden, it stops, but not for long. Paddock starts firing blindly at the hallway through his room door, and Campos reacts too late. He ducks for cover but gets hit in the leg and radios hotel dispatch for help. Meanwhile, Paddock returns to the window and starts firing at the crowd again. Down below, security guards and police officers stationed near the venue have mistaken the first round of gunshots for fireworks. But when they hear the sounds again and no colors light up the sky, they finally realize what's happening. The crowd does too. The music cuts out, and people start running in every direction. As the crowd scrambles to run away, Paddock fires at them continuously, for minutes on end. Meanwhile, an engineer called Stephen Shuck arrives at the 32nd floor to fix the door on the service stairway. As he makes his way through the 100 wing, he hears what he thinks is a jackhammer echoing from the end of the hall. Inside the Vista Suite, Paddock sees him coming. And when Shuck sees Campos bleeding behind a door, he shouts for him to take cover. Paddock fires through his door again, and Shuck dives behind an alcove just in time. Once the gunfire stops, he radios hotel dispatch to send police officers. Paddock starts shooting at the crowd again, and a few moments later, 2 more security officers arrive on the 32nd floor. This time they're armed, but they don't know what to do. Inside his suite, Paddock can see that more security officers and even some policemen are gathering in the hallways outside. At 10:15 p.m., he fires his final shots into the crowd. At 10:16, he fires one last time, not from a rifle, but from a revolver, a weapon meant for close range. After that, the shooting stops. At this point, the police have called in a SWAT team to breach Paddock's room. While they're waiting for them, several police officers evacuate guests from nearby rooms. At 10:41, 2 SWAT teams finally arrive at the 32nd floor. One of them comes through the main elevator, and the other pries the door of the service stairway open. As both teams approach the end of the hallway, they see the room service cart with the camera's Paddock set up. Because of the wires, there's a possibility that he's armed an explosive. The SWAT teams carefully point the cameras away and place a small explosive charge on the main door. They retreat into the service stairway, and when it blows open, they rush into the Vista suite from behind their shields and immediately split into 2. One team moves left, clearing the master bedroom. The other moves right, headed for the main living area. Just a few steps in, they find Paddock laying on his back on the floor, with a revolver beside his head. They continue towards the adjoining room and set another explosive charge on the door. Inside, they find a laptop connected to the hallway cameras, rifles on the beds, and a large hole in the window, but there are no explosives and no one inside. The room is clear. It's over. That night, on October 1st, 2017, Stephen Paddock took the lives of 58 innocent people. 31 died at the concert, 27 in nearby hospitals. In the years that followed, 2 more died from their injuries, bringing the total deaths to 60. It was the deadliest mass shooting committed by a single person in American history. Beyond that, another 689 people were physically injured. But the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department considers every one of the 22,000 people who attended the Route 91 Music Festival a victim. And that number doesn't include the hundreds of bystanders walking along the Vegas Strip, or the families of the deceased. After the shooting, the FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit spent months examining Paddock's finances, his relationships, his past, and his digital history. But what they found only raised more questions. Paddock had no criminal record, no history of violence, and no affiliation with any political or religious ideology. He wasn't active online, didn't leave a manifesto, a note, a video, or even a line of text explaining what he'd done. He hadn't told anyone, not his family, not his girlfriend. Financially, he was stable. His wealth had declined slightly, but his debts to the casinos were paid. According to the FBI's report, Paddock chose Las Vegas because the Mandalay Bay Hotel offered a perfect vantage point to an open-air venue. The decision to strike there was purely tactical. In the end, the FBI ultimately concluded that there was no single or clear motivating factor behind Paddock's attack. Still, some believe he was angry at the casinos. Others think he might have been seeking notoriety, like his father. But none of these explanations can be proven with certainty. What we do know is that Paddock acted alone. He planned the attack at least a year in advance and went to great lengths to make it happen, buying weapons, studying police tactics, and researching how long it would take for SWAT teams to reach an active shooter. We also know that he never planned to leave the room alive. Investigators found that he had taken multiple calculated steps to ensure that he would commit at a time and in a manner of his choosing. He went out just exactly as he had planned. In tragedies like this, everybody wants the answer to one question. Why? And that's perhaps the most unsettling part of the story. We will never know why Paddock did this, why anyone would do such a thing. You just never know what's going on in someone else's head.
That was a good one. And so we're gonna keep it right along moving with the elderly that be snapping out. I want y'all to meet Velma, the death row grandma. Let's go.
Meet Velma Barfield. To anyone who knew her, she was a loving grandmother, a devout Christian, and a rock in her community. But on November 2nd, 1984, she made history for a totally different reason. She became the first woman in the United States to be executed by lethal injection. Her public image as the caring death row granny fascinated the country, but it was a mask for a terrifying secret. It was a secret rooted in abuse, addiction, and the silent, creeping death of arsenic. This is the story of how the woman everyone trusted turned out to be one of America's most shocking serial killers. In her small North Carolina town, Velma Barfield was the very picture of Southern piety and strength. She was a regular at church, known for being friendly and for her incredible faith. Even after a lifetime of tragedy, she'd buried 2 husbands, her own mother, and several others close to her, handling each loss with a quiet strength that people admired. She worked as a caregiver, looking after the elderly and the sick, a job that seemed to fit her compassionate personality perfectly. Her friends and even her own children saw a woman who, despite all the hardship, was still a devoted mother and grandmother. It was this image, The gentle, sweet-natured granny that made the truth so hard to believe. How could this woman, who seemed to live by the rules of Christian charity, be a monster hiding in plain sight? To figure out how those two realities could exist in one person, we have to go back to the very beginning. Margie Velma Bullard was born on October 29th, 1932, to a poor family on a small farm in rural South Carolina. Life was tough, and with 9 children, the Bullard home was strict and often cruel. Accounts from Velma's life say her father was abusive, a harsh man whose cruelty defined much of her childhood. Desperate to get away, a 17-year-old Velma dropped out of school and married her high school boyfriend, Thomas Burke. For a while, it seemed like she had finally found the stable life she'd always wanted.
Right.
The couple had 2 children, and for more than a decade, things were peaceful. But that all fell apart around 1965, after Thomas got into a serious car accident that left him in constant pain. He started drinking heavily, and their fights got worse and worse. Around the same time, Velma had a hysterectomy and started dealing with her own chronic back pain. This led her down a road that would define the rest of her life, an addiction to prescription painkillers and tranquilizers. The quiet world she had built was starting to crack, and a dark new pattern was about to begin. The first strange tragedy happened in 1969. After an argument with Velma, her husband, Thomas Burke, died when their house caught fire. His death was officially caused by smoke inhalation. Just a few months later, Velma married a widower named Jennings Barfield, but they weren't together for long. In March of 1971, less than a year into their marriage, Jennings died suddenly from what was called heart failure. Now a
Like
2-time
Black
widow, Velma moved in with her parents, but her troubles just seemed to follow her. In 1974, her own mother, Lily Bullard, started having terrible stomach pains, nausea, and vomiting. She went to the hospital, but was sent home when she felt better.
Damn, not the
But when
bomb.
Velma visited for Christmas later that year, the sickness came back with a vengeance.
What?
Lily was rushed to the hospital and died just hours later, with doctors unable to explain what had killed her. Velma's money problems were getting worse. She started forging checks and was sentenced to 6 months in prison in 1975. When she got out, she found work as a private nurse for the elderly, a position of incredible trust. But she used that trust as a weapon. In 1977, while under Velma's care, an elderly couple, Montgomery and Dolly Edwards, both died within a month of each other from a violent, mysterious stomach bug. Soon after, Velma took a new job caring for another couple, and the husband,
4
John
people?
Henry Lee, also died from the same strange symptoms. In every case, Velma was there, playing the role of the dutiful caregiver and grieving friend. No one had a clue that these weren't natural deaths. They were murders. In 1977, Velma started seeing a man named Stuart Taylor. Velma, deep in her drug addiction and desperate for cash, started forging checks on his bank account.
Damn.
She was terrified he was about to find out. One day, after they'd been to a church revival meeting, Stuart started complaining about a horrible pain in his stomach. Velma immediately jumped into her familiar role, insisting she would nurse him back to health. She served him beer and tea, but he only got worse. The agonizing pain and sickness were exactly what her other victims had gone through. Finally, she took him to the hospital, where he died a few days later on February 3rd, 1978.
not Velma.
But this time, something was different. Stuart's family was suspicious, and in a shocking turn, police got a call from Velma's own sister,
They
who
just
told them
got
Velma was a
suspicious.
poisoner who had killed Stuart just like she'd killed their mother. An autopsy was ordered, and the results confirmed the awful truth. Stuart Taylor's body was full of arsenic. The investigation blew up from there. Authorities dug up the bodies of her mother, Lily Bullard, as well as John Henry Lee and Dolly Edwards.
What?
All of them tested positive for arsenic.
Wow.
Faced with the evidence, Velma Barfield finally confessed. She admitted to poisoning her mother, 2 of her patients, and Stuart Taylor.
That's 4 people.
She claimed she did it to cover up the money she'd stolen to feed her drug addiction. She argued she only meant to make them sick, not kill them, just to buy herself time to pay the money back. She denied killing her 2 husbands, though Jennings Barfield's body was later exhumed and was also found to have traces of arsenic. The image of the sweet, grieving grandmother was destroyed, revealing the cold, calculating killer she really was. In late 1978, Velma Barfield stood trial for the first-degree murder of Stuart Taylor. Her
Not the
defense team
arsenic.
argued she was legally insane, claiming years of drug abuse and a possible multiple personality disorder meant she didn't know what she was doing. But the prosecution painted a very different picture. A cold, manipulative woman who killed for money and to keep her victims from exposing her thefts. The jury didn't buy her defense. They saw a woman who killed systematically and without any apparent remorse. During the trial, she reportedly seemed cold and detached, even giving the district attorney a round of applause after his closing statement. The jury found 3 aggravating circumstances. The murder was for financial gain, it was done to obstruct justice, and it was especially heinous, atrocious, or cruel. In December 1978, the jury recommended the death penalty. Velma Barfield was sent to North Carolina's Central Prison, where she became the state's only female death row inmate. For the next 6 years, her case was a national spectacle. While on death row, she had a powerful religious conversion, becoming a born-again Christian who ministered to other prisoners. This new identity, the death row granny, earned
Well, y'all said Jesus saved. I guess he tried to save her too.
her support from religious leaders like Billy Graham and from opponents of the death penalty. They argued she was rehabilitated and that her sentence should be commuted. Her appeals dragged on for years, but every single one failed. With no legal options left, Governor Jim Hunt denied her final plea for clemency. Her fate was sealed.
Yeah.
On November 2nd, 1984, a 52-year-old Velma Barfield was led to the execution chamber. For her last meal, she chose a bag of cheese doodles and a Coca-Cola. Her final statement expressed sorrow for the pain she had caused the families. At 2:15 a.m., she was executed by lethal injection, becoming the first woman executed in the United States since 1962, and the very first by this method. The story of Velma Barfield is a chilling study in duality. She was a poisoner who used the trust people placed in a caregiver as her most deadly weapon. She was a serial killer whose quiet, unassuming personality was the perfect cover for her crimes. Her case leaves us with a disturbing question. How well can we ever really know the people we let into our lives? And what dark secrets can be hiding behind a grandmother's loving smile?
Damn, that one is pretty creepy, man. Granny up to no good. Hey, I like the rapid fire, so we just gonna kick it right off with 10 truck drivers who were serial killers.
Open road represents freedom, but for some, it represents the ultimate hunting ground. In 2009, the FBI launched the Highway Serial Killings Initiative after noticing a terrifying pattern. Hundreds of bodies dumped along America's interstate corridors. Today, we count down 10 truck drivers who were actually serial killers. For 1, Keith Jesperson. Operating in the early 1990s, this long-haul trucker murdered at least 8 women. He taunted police by writing confessions on truck stop bathroom walls, signing each one with a chilling smiley face. Number 2, Robert Ben Rhodes. Rhodes converted the sleeper berth of his semi-truck into a literal mobile torture chamber. Convicted of 3 murders but suspected in over 50, he hunted hitchhikers and stranded motorists for over 15 years. Number 3, William Bonin. Bonin used his local commercial driving jobs to terrorize Southern California. He utilized the sprawling freeway network to transport and dump his victims, leading to 14 convictions before his 1996 execution. Number 4, Bruce Mendenhall.
14.
Arrested at a Nashville truck stop in 2007, Mendenhall's run ended when an observant detective spotted blood inside his cab. He was convicted of 3 murders, but police suspect him in several multi-state highway cold cases. Number 5, Adam Leroy Lane. Lane didn't hunt at truck stops. Instead, he parked his massive rig near quiet suburbs, directly off highway exits. Armed with knives, he entered homes to attack victims while they slept before a victim's father subdued him in 2007. Number 6, Delmas Colvin. Operating through the 80s and 90s, this Ohio trucker exploited the transient nature of truck stop corridors. Convicted of 5 murders, Colvin later confessed from prison to killing over 50 women, frequently hiding them in remote trucking yards. Number 7, Peter Sutcliffe. This British killer proved the trend was global.
Wow.
Sutcliffe murdered 13 women in the late 1970s while working as a lorry driver, using his...
Hey Dave, do you got the is there articles that we can pull up and all of that? You want to come up and tell that story? because we do the live call in on the crime. You want to come up and tell that story? The last one we had was fire. If you got the receipts, we'll pull it up. You ain't got to show your face or nothing. I put the link out there for you to get out. Let me know.
His official mandatory company delivery logs to provide flawless alibis to investigators. Number 8. Wayne Adam Ford.
The BNK,
In
what up?
1998, this long-haul driver walked directly into a sheriff's station to confess. Overwhelmed by guilt, Ford had a piece of physical evidence from his final victim right in his pocket. He was convicted of 4 murders. Number 9. Robert Rembert Jr. Rembert utilized both a past career as a regional bus driver and a long-haul truck driving gig in Ohio to mask his movements. His constant geographic shifts allowed him to hide 4 execution-style killings stretching across decades. Number 10. John Robert Williams. Williams operated a cross-country route, attacking transient women. While convicted for the definitive forensic cases of 2 victims, his massive confession of over 12 slayings completely overwhelmed regional law enforcement tracking.
That was a creepy one. These dudes riding around here in these trucks. Let's just go ahead and kick it off right though. Let's go all inmates in Georgia death row. This ought to be very interesting in Georgia. Georgia.
All inmates on Georgia death row. According to the Georgia Department of Corrections official named roster from June 30th, 2026,
Lynette, thanks for the
33
jewels.
prisoners in its physical custody are serving death sentences. 32
Michael,
men
we
and
shall
1
see.
woman. These are all 33, and the crimes that resulted in their death sentences. Brian Brookins. Brookins was convicted of murdering his wife, Sandra Suzanne Brookins, and his 15-year-old stepdaughter, Samantha Ray Giles. A jury found multiple statutory aggravating circumstances and sentenced him to death for both murders. Leonard Drain. Drain was convicted of the murder of Renee Blackman, along with aggravated battery. Jurors found statutory aggravating circumstances connected to the murder and returned a death sentence. David Homer Edenfield. Edenfield was convicted in the 2007 murder of 6-year-old Christopher Barrios. He was also convicted of SA against the child. A Glynn County jury sentenced Edenfield to death for Christopher's murder. John Esposito. Esposito was convicted of murdering Lola Davis during a crime that also involved armed robbery and vehicle hijacking. The jury found him guilty of malice murder and the accompanying felonies before imposing the death penalty. David Scott Franks. Franks received a death sentence for the murder of Debbie Wilson. His case was part of a wider crime spree involving additional killings and attacks on 2 children. Jurors found 5 statutory aggravating circumstances, including armed robbery and murder for financial gain. Jerry Heidler. Heidler was convicted of murdering 4 members of the Daniels family during a home invasion.
Damn.
He was also convicted of kidnapping 3 children. Jurors unanimously recommended death sentences for all 4 murders after finding multiple aggravating circumstances. Stacey Ian Humphreys. Humphreys was convicted of murdering real estate agents Cindy Williams and Lori Brown.
Damn.
The crimes also involved kidnapping and armed robbery. Jurors found aggravating circumstances that included the accompanying felonies and financial motive and sentenced him to death. Ashley Lindahl Jones. Jones was convicted of murdering Keith Holland during a robbery with an accomplice. The jury determined that the murder met Georgia's statutory requirements for an aggravated capital offense and recommended a death sentence. Jerry William Jones. Jones pleaded guilty to 4 murders and numerous related crimes stemming from a 2004 case involving 2 separate households. 4 people were killed, including an infant. He subsequently received a death sentence. Warren King. King was convicted of murdering Karen Crosby during a planned armed robbery. Jurors found that the killing occurred during the commission of other serious felonies, including armed robbery and burglary, providing the aggravating circumstances supporting his death sentence. James Allison Lee. Lee was convicted of murder, armed robbery, and other offenses. The jury found that the murder occurred during both an armed robbery and a kidnapping with bodily injury, and also found a financial gain aggravating circumstance. Lee was sentenced to death. Pablo Maldonado. Maldonado was convicted in the murder of Timothy Clements. as well as armed robbery and other offenses. Prosecutors presented the killing as financially motivated, and Maldonado received the death penalty following his murder conviction. To Kelvin Martin. Martin was convicted of murdering 3 members of his girlfriend's family.
Damn.
12-year-old Savian and his elderly grandparents, Travis and Illa Ivory. He was also convicted of SA and other offenses. Jurors recommended death sentences for the murders. Michael Miller. Miller was convicted of murder and armed robbery in Walton County. Because the homicide was connected to the commission of another serious felony, armed robbery, the case qualified for capital sentencing, and Miller was sentenced to death. Jeremy Moody. Moody pleaded guilty to murdering teenagers Chrysandra Kimball and Delarlanva Maddox Jr., along with kidnapping and other offenses.
Damn.
He was also convicted of SA, one of the victims. A jury found multiple statutory aggravating circumstances and recommended death. Michael Wayne Nance. Nance's case began with a bank robbery and ended with the murder of Gabor Balog. Jurors found aggravating circumstances that included Nance's prior capital felony conviction and the commission of the murder during an armed robbery. He was sentenced to death. Dorian O'Kelly. O'Kelly was convicted of murdering Susan Pittman and her 13-year-old daughter, Kimberly, during a burglary. He was also convicted of arson and other offenses. The accompanying burglary, arson, and multiple murders provided aggravating circumstances supporting 2 death sentences. Lyndon Fitzgerald Pace. Pace was convicted of murdering an SA4 women in Atlanta, several of whom were elderly. He was found guilty of 4 counts of malice murder and additional sexual offenses. The jury returned a death sentence for each murder. Virgil Delano Presnell Jr. Presnell was convicted in a case involving the abduction of 2 young girls. The 8-year-old victim was murdered, while the older child survived. Presnell's murder and kidnapping convictions ultimately resulted in his death sentence. Mustafa Rahim. Rahim was convicted of multiple murders and other offenses in Henry County. Although he received life sentences for some of the killings, the jury imposed the death penalty for the murder of Miriam Hollis after finding statutory aggravating circumstances. Billy Daniel Rollerson was convicted of 3 murders involving Jason Hampton, Charlie Dixon, and Gail Taylor, as well as burglary, kidnapping, and additional offenses. Jurors found 7 statutory aggravating circumstances and returned death sentences for all 3 murders. Lawrence Rice. Rice was convicted of murdering Connie Mincher and her 14-year-old son, Ethan, during a burglary. The jury found multiple statutory aggravating circumstances surrounding the 2 killings and recommended that Rice be sentenced to death. Reynaldo Javier Rivera. Rivera was convicted of murder and multiple SA offenses in the capital case. Jurors found aggravating circumstances that included the murder occurring during the commission of other serious crimes. Rivera was sentenced to death. James R. Rogers. Rogers was convicted in Floyd County of murdering his neighbor Grace Perry and of aggravated assault involving another woman. A jury returned a death sentence for the murder. His conviction and sentence have since been the subject of decades of appeals. DeMarcus Alley Sears. Sears' case is unusual because his Georgia death sentence was imposed for kidnapping with bodily injury rather than a Georgia murder conviction. He kidnapped Gloria Wilbur during an armed robbery, and she was later murdered. Jurors found that the kidnapping was committed in connection with the murder and imposed death. Daryl Scott Stinsky.
Damn.
Stinsky was O'Kelly's co-defendant in the murders of Susan and Kimberly Pittman. He was convicted of 2 counts of malice murder, burglary, arson, and other offenses. Jurors found the required aggravating circumstances and imposed 2 death sentences. Nicholas Tate. Tate pleaded guilty to murdering Chrissy Williams and her 3-year-old daughter Caitlin, along with related offenses. Tate waived a jury for sentencing, and the trial court found several statutory aggravating circumstances before sentencing him to death for both murders. Leon Tillett. Tillett pleaded guilty to murder and other offenses arising from an armed robbery. His capital sentence was based on findings that the murder occurred during the commission of an armed robbery and was committed for financial gain. Frederick R. Watley. Watley was convicted of murder and armed robbery following a robbery at Roy's Bait Shop. Jurors found 2 major aggravating circumstances. The murder occurred during an armed robbery, and Watley had escaped from lawful confinement before committing the crime. Joseph Williams. Williams was already incarcerated when he murdered fellow prisoner Michael Deal. At sentencing, jurors found that the murder had been committed while Williams was in lawful confinement, and that Williams had a prior capital felony conviction. He was sentenced to death. Demetrius Goshion Willis. Willis was convicted of 3 murders in Fulton County, along with assault, child cruelty, and firearm offenses. Jurors found multiple statutory aggravating circumstances and recommended a death sentence for each of the 3 murders. Rodney Young. Young was convicted of murdering Gary Jones in Newton County, along with several related offenses. During the penalty phase, the jury found multiple statutory aggravating circumstances and recommended that Young receive the death penalty. Tiffany Moss. Finally, Tiffany Moss is the only woman on Georgia's named death row roster. She was convicted in 2019 of murdering her 10-year-old stepdaughter, Imani Moss, following prolonged child abuse and deprivation. A Gwinnett County jury found her guilty and sentenced her to death.
Damn. Them be
All
kind,
inmates.
hey, them be kind of hard to take a little bit, man. Especially that rapid fire, man. That'd be crazy. Hey, I wanted to try something different, y'all. We talk about all of these people in jail. What about the people who sneak out of jail? I wanted to let's check out this shocking prison escape that left the security completely unprepared. How does somebody escape from prison? I want to know. I was curious.
5 minutes later, all 7 collapse, drugged. The man standing over their bodies has strangled backpackers in Thailand, burned corpses on beaches, drowned tourists in bathtubs. At least 12 dead across Asia. Now, the serpent steps over the guards, takes the keys, and walks out the front gate of Tihar prison. Within hours, every airport in India is locked down. Interpol issues a global alert. Thailand demands his head. They've waited a decade to execute him. But here's what no one understands. 3 weeks later, the most wanted man in Asia is sitting by a restaurant window in a tourist town, waiting. He doesn't run when police walk in. He smiles and holds out his wrists. Because Charles Sobhraj didn't escape to find freedom, freedom meant an execution in Thailand. The only place on earth that could save his life? The prison cell he just left. Why would escaping guarantee his execution? And how did getting caught become his only way out? January 1986. Behind Tihar's concrete walls, Charles Sobhraj lives better than half the people outside them. Guards call him Sahib, boss, master, the honorific reserved for men who command respect. At 42, he speaks French, English, Hindi, Thai, and Vietnamese with the fluency of a diplomat. He wears tailored shirts in his cell while other inmates rot in prison-issue rags. Restaurant curry arrives on ceramic plates. Cold Kingfisher beer materializes after lights out. Where other prisoners sleep on concrete slabs, Sobhraj reclines on a feather pillow. The secret isn't violence, it's economics. Gems sewn into the lining of his jacket convert to bribes faster than cash. Guards, cooks, clerks, even the warden's assistant find rupees pressed into their palms for small favors that compound into absolute privilege. Sobhraj has transformed India's most notorious prison into his personal hotel, and nobody questions the arrangement because everyone profits from it. But comfort means nothing when a death sentence waits at the gate. Sobhraj's 12-year term for drugging French tourists in 1976 expires in weeks. Release should mean relief, but for him, it means extradition, a one-way flight to Bangkok, where Thai prosecutors hold warrants for 6 murders. The victims were young Western backpackers drifting through Southeast Asia on shoestring budgets. A Dutch couple found strangled in a Bangkok apartment. An American woman burned beyond recognition on a Pattaya beach. A Canadian student whose body washed up near Phuket. The press dubbed him the Bikini Killer for the swimwear his victims often wore when discovered. Thailand wants Sobhraj's neck stretched by rope, or his veins flooded with lethal injection. The method varies by era, but the outcome stays constant. If India releases him at sentence end, Thai officers will be waiting at Tihar's gate with handcuffs and a plane ticket to a death chamber he'll never leave. Sobhraj runs the numbers in his cell every night, scratching calculations on newspaper margins. Thai law carries a 20-year statute of limitations on murder. His earliest alleged killings date to 1975. If he can remain beyond Thailand's reach until 1995, every charge dissolves like morning fog. The noose becomes a paperweight, and the lethal injection becomes an empty threat. But his Indian sentence ends now in 1986. He needs 9 more years. 9 years the Indian government has no legal obligation to provide. The math is brutal in its simplicity. Freedom in 1986 means death in Bangkok. Prison until 1995 means survival. Release isn't salvation. It's a trapdoor to an execution chamber. For the first time in his life, Charles Sobraj desperately wants to remain behind bars. So how do you force a country to imprison you longer when they're legally required to release you? Confessing to new crimes takes months of investigation and trials. Appeals drag through bureaucratic quicksand. Neither option delivers the immediate delay Sobraj needs. He requires something that generates charges, headlines, and years of court proceedings all at once. Something so audacious that no prosecutor can expedite it, no judge can dismiss it, and no extradition order can leapfrog it. And then the solution arrives, elegant and insane in equal measure. Escape. Not to disappear, to get caught. Break out of Tihar, commit new felonies in the process, dominate the news cycle, then let police recapture him in spectacular fashion. Fresh charges, fresh trials, fresh years behind Indian bars while Thailand's clock bleeds towards zero.
I know, ain't it?
Every day India holds him is a day Thailand cannot execute him. If you think this sounds like the plot of a fever dream, you're not alone. But Charles Sobraj has built his entire 42 years on schemes that sound impossible until they work. He strolls the exercise yard beneath the watchtower, lips curling into a private smile. The blueprint crystallizes. He'll need accomplices willing to risk everything for a promise of freedom. He'll need sedatives strong enough to drop armed guards, but weak enough to avoid manslaughter charges. He'll need a getaway vehicle, outside contacts, split-second timing. One miscalculation means a bullet in the spine, or an expedited flight to Bangkok's death row. But doing nothing guarantees execution anyway. The odds favor action. The king of Tihar is about to bet his life on the most counterintuitive jailbreak ever attempted, escaping prison so he never has to leave it. What could he offer fellow inmates to make them risk their lives for a scheme they don't fully understand? And how does a prisoner stockpile enough drugs to knock out a dozen guards without anyone noticing? Every great con needs accomplices who believe they're getting a real reward. Sobraj recruits 2 convicted heroin smugglers serving life sentences, hard men with nothing to lose and everything to gain from a shot at freedom. During yard time, he lays out the escape in whispered fragments. A diversion inside the cell block, sedatives hidden in food, a car waiting outside the main gate. The smuggler's eyes widen. Tihar is supposed to be escape-proof. 12-foot walls, armed guards, and watchtowers scanning the perimeter. But this soft-spoken man speaks as if he's already walked through the concrete. They agree without hesitation, recruiting 4 more inmates willing to risk bullets for open air. What Sobraj doesn't mention, he has no intention of staying free. The accomplices believe they're fleeing to Nepal, new identities, fresh starts in mountain villages where Indian police can't follow. They don't know they're pawns in a scheme designed to end in headlines and handcuffs. That secret stays locked behind Sobraj's smile. The weapon is chemistry. Over 3 months, Sobraj accumulates sleeping pills, tranquilizers, and sedative powders through every channel available to a man with money. Diazepam arrives inside hollowed-out book spines. Barbiturates slip through in care packages labeled vitamins. A corrupt night shift guard delivers pharmaceutical-grade sedatives in exchange for enough rupees to buy a motorcycle. Alone after midnight, Sobraj grinds tablets into fine dust, mixes ratios, and tests solubility. He needs a dose strong enough to drop a grown man in minutes, but calibrated to avoid stopping anyone's heart. A dead officer means murder charges and international outrage. Unconscious guards...
Wait a minute. I call bullshit. I know this is AI and I know all of that, but they should not have put the scales and shit threw me off. Like, I'll be with you for a second, but when you come on, man, with he all in the cell with the scales and shit. Nah, come on, man.
Mean assault. Exactly the kind of mid-level felonies that clog Indian courts for years. To verify the dosage, he lures a stray cat with drugged scraps. The animal collapses within 4 minutes.
No, not the stray cat. See, I was all with this story until that happened. Should we keep going? Because that just ruined it for me. The stray cat in prison. What prison are we talking about? Okay, they might got cats over there in prison. Okay, all right. I don't know, but that just is ruined it.
Breathes steadily and wakes 5 hours later unharmed. Sobraj adjusts upward for human body weight. By early March, he possesses enough sedative powder to incapacitate a wedding party. The delivery mechanism, Indian milk sweets called burfi, dense with sugar, ghee, and saffron. The drugs dissolve invisibly into the creamy fat. Hospitality as a weapon, Sobraj perfected this trick a decade earlier when he nearly poisoned 60 French tourists with fake dysentery pills. Now he'll use it on his jailers. He picks March 16, 1986, 3 weeks before his actual birthday. But prisons don't check calendars. Sobraj announces a small party, a thank you to the officers who treated him well. The staff sees no threat. He's been a model prisoner, generous with gifts and friendly with everyone. What harm could come from a little...
You know what? You're totally right. Daydream. I remember seeing a documentary with people who got life and all that, having the prison dogs and all of that. You're totally right. Thanks for bringing me back to reality. But just immediately, just upon face value, I'll get the heck out of here. But you are totally right. So thank you for putting me back in the story.
Party. The night before, Sobraj sleeps soundly while his accomplices pace their cells. The getaway driver is bribed and positioned. The 6 accomplices know their roles. Act natural, eat the sweets, and then follow Sobraj the moment guards drop. Sweets dusted with sedatives wait in a gilded box labeled "Imported from Jaipur." Dawn breaks on March 16th. The most surreal birthday party in Indian prison history is about to begin.
Okay.
How will 7 armed guards react when they realize the man they trusted just poisoned them? March 16th, 1986. Late afternoon light slants through the bars of Block B. Colored streamers hang from exposed pipes. A bedsheet banner reads, "Happy Birthday, Charlie." A bakery cake, vanilla with pink frosting, smuggled in by a guard who pocketed 200 rupees, sits on a metal stool beside plastic cups and a teapot. Sobraj greets each guest at his cell door with folded hands and a warm smile. 5 officers crowd inside the cramped space. 2 more linger in the corridor, drawn by laughter and the promise of sweets. The cell block chief himself attends, the highest-ranking officer on the floor, whose unconscious body will guarantee chaos when the alarm finally sounds. The cake is cut. A ragged chorus of "Happy Birthday" echoes off concrete. Sobraj plays humble, voice catching with rehearsed emotion. "Thank you, my friends, for these years together. I will never forget your kindness." Guards beam at one another. One claps Sobraj on the shoulder like an old friend celebrating a milestone. The scene is surreal. Armed law enforcement celebrating a serial killer's birthday inside maximum security. No one notices the accomplice inmates watching from the corner, eyes fixed on Sobraj, waiting for a signal. Sobraj lifts the gilded box and offers burfi personally to each man, moving around the cell like a gracious host. "Extra special," he murmurs. "Imported from Jaipur, the best sweet shop in Rajasthan." The sweets are dense with ghee and saffron, each one laced with enough sedative to flatten a grown man in minutes. Guards devour them without hesitation. Prison food is monotonous, and quality sweets are rare luxuries. One officer snatches a second piece before anyone else can claim it, doubling his dose without knowing. Sobraj glances at the wall clock as he sets down the empty box. 5:12 p.m. Shift change at 5:45. He needs every guard unconscious before fresh officers arrive and discover the carnage.
Okay.
For 2 minutes, nothing seems wrong. Conversation continues. Tea is poured. A guard tells a joke that gets scattered laughs.
Okay.
Then a senior officer pauses mid-sentence, blinking rapidly as if trying to focus on something just out of reach. Sweat beads on his forehead. Another man's teacup clatters to the floor. "I don't feel," he starts, then crumples against the wall like a marionette with cut strings. The collapse cascades through the room. Guards stagger, grab for furniture, clutch their heads. One reaches for his radio, but his fingers won't close around it. The 2 sentries in the corridor rush in to help their fallen colleagues, and succumb within seconds. The drugs already circulating through their bloodstreams from the sweets they'd sampled earlier. In under 5 minutes, 7 officers lie sprawled across the floor, breathing but unconscious.
Okay.
The highest security prison in India has been neutralized by dessert. Sobraj moves fast. He steps over a twitching guard, bends down, and unclips the master keyring from the man's belt. An accomplice lets out a whoop of triumph, and Sobraj silences him with a glare sharp enough to cut.
Is this MacGyver? Is this an episode of MacGyver? Because now I'm like, bullshit. Get out of here. Fresh, imported from Singapore. These are the saffron. They're saffron, they are. Boy, if you don't get your ass out of here. Come on, fam. This is, I don't know, man. It's losing me a little bit. What y'all think?
Glass. Celebration comes later, or never, depending on the next 30 minutes. they drag unconscious bodies out of the doorway, positioning them against the walls. Then, Sobraj performs the final theatrical flourish. He locks all 7 guards inside his own cell, the prisoner caging his jailers. The reversal is almost poetic, but there's no time to savor it. He leads 6 men down the corridor at a deliberate, casual pace. Running draws attention. Panic draws bullets. They walk like trustees returning from an errand, nodding at a drowsy sentry who barely glances up from his newspaper, passing a clerk too focused on paperwork to notice anything unusual. Shift change is minutes away. At the final checkpoint, a guard sits behind reinforced glass with his hand near a panic button. Sobraj approaches with an easy smile. "Errand for the warden's office," he says in fluent Hindi. The guard hesitates. Something feels off, but Sobraj's face is familiar from years of model behavior. The guard buzzes them through. "Back in a minute," Sobraj calls cheerfully as the heavy steel gate swings open. It clangs shut behind them with a sound like a coffin closing.
Okay.
Outside, Delhi evening air fills his lungs for the first time in a decade. The white ambassador waits exactly where promised. Engine idling, driver gripping the wheel. Sobraj ushers his accomplices inside and slides into the back seat. The driver pulls into traffic before the sun touches the horizon. Behind them, Tihar sits quiet, oblivious. Inside Block B, 7 guards will sleep for hours before anyone discovers the locked cell and the missing inmates. The accomplices tremble with adrenaline, giddy at their impossible luck. Sobraj offers only a thin smile. They expect him to celebrate, to reveal the border crossing, to plot their new lives. Instead, the car heads south, toward Goa, a tourist paradise 1,200 kilometers away, crawling with police, foreigners, and journalists. Every mile brings Sobraj closer to exactly the kind of attention a fugitive should avoid. His companions don't realize they're riding into a trap that only one person in the car understands. What happens when India's entire law enforcement apparatus starts hunting the most infamous killer on the subcontinent? And why would a man smart enough to escape Tihar choose a beach restaurant as his hiding spot? The drugged guards wake at dusk, disoriented and utterly humiliated.
Okay.
They find themselves locked inside a prisoner's cell, their radios out of reach, their dignity in ruins. The alarm klaxon screams through Tihar within minutes, echoing across the prison complex like an accusation. By midnight, an all-India alert floods every airport, seaport, train station, and border crossing from Kashmir to Kerala. The bikini killer has escaped. Police roadblocks sprout on every highway out of Delhi. Armed officers stop cars, check trunks, interrogate drivers. Interpol issues a red notice flagging every international transit point. Newspapers run screaming headlines. Serial killer drugs guards with birthday cake, strolls out front gate. The public oscillates between terror at a murderer on the loose and grudging admiration at the sheer audacity of the scheme.
Okay.
Sobraj's legend swells into dark mythology. Days pass with no sign of Sobraj or his crew. Rumors swirl through police stations and newsrooms. He crossed into Nepal through a mountain pass, boarded a cargo ship in Mumbai harbor, bribed his way onto a private plane. Thai officials send furious cables demanding answers. Indian police sweat through sleepless nights, careers hanging by threads. And while every detective combs shadows and borders, Charles Sobraj sits in a wicker chair at Okokero restaurant in Goa, eating prawn curry by a window that faces the street.
Thanks.
No disguise, no alias. His signature cap and sunglasses are visible to anyone who glances inside. He reads a newspaper, one with his own face on the front page.
Thanks.
April 6th, 1986. His actual birthday, 3 weeks after the escape, finds him chatting with European tourists at a neighboring table, charming as if he's a businessman on holiday rather than the most wanted man on the subcontinent. A tip reaches local inspector Madhukar Zende, someone matching Sobraj's description at a beachside restaurant. Zende drives there half expecting another hoax, the 100th false sighting this week. Instead, he spots the unmistakable profile through the glass, backlit by afternoon sun. Heart pounding, Zende pushes through the door and approaches the table. "You are Charles Sobraj. You are under arrest." The restaurant freezes. Diners hold their breath. Sobraj looks up from his curry, meets the inspector's eyes, and smiles with genuine warmth. His wrists extend before Zende even reaches for handcuffs. "Happy birthday to me, Inspector." 3 weeks after the most audacious prison break in Indian history, the Serpent is back in custody, caught in a tourist restaurant, making no effort to flee.
But I thought
Authorities
he
are relieved
committed
but baffled.
felony.
Why would a genius escape artist loiter in plain sight? Hidden loot? A rendezvous gone wrong?
Or I guess
A mental
escape is
breakdown?
a felony, right?
They interrogate Sobraj for hours, and he answers with the smugness of a chess player explaining checkmate. He never intended to stay free.
Right.
The escape was theater, every moment calculated for maximum legal entanglement. By breaking out, drugging officials, evading police for weeks, and finally getting recaptured, he guaranteed fresh felony charges. Crimes committed on Indian soil, prosecuted in Indian courts. Those trials would take years. Years he'd spend safely in Tihar while Thailand's 20-year statute of limitations ticked toward zero. Every headline, every roadblock, every humiliated guard added weight to his case file and months to his sentence. He didn't escape prison. He escaped extradition by forcing India to keep him locked up longer. Officials stare in disbelief. The scheme is so brazen it barely sounds legal, except that's exactly the point. Sobraj exploited loopholes no lawmaker imagined. Indian courts convict him of prison escape and drugging government officers. The sentence, 10 additional years. Legal delays push his release to 1997, 2 years past the expiration of Thailand's murder warrants. What will Thai authorities do when they realize their case evaporated while Sobraj sat comfortably in Indian custody? And does Sobraj have any idea that his freedom in 1997 won't be the end of the story? Tihar welcomes Sobraj back with a different energy. Guards no longer accept his gifts or share his jokes. Fellow inmates whisper about the man who played four-dimensional chess with 2 governments and won. But Sobraj shows no resentment at the changed atmosphere. To him, these extra years are a protective cocoon, not punishment. He reads philosophy, exercises in the yard, grants sly interviews that burnish his legend without admitting guilt. Reporters arrive from 3 continents. Every story feeds the myth of the unkillable serpent, the criminal mastermind who drugged his way out of India's most secure prison and got recaptured on purpose. The restaurant in Goa installs a commemorative plaque at the table where he was arrested, a tourist attraction born from a serial killer's hubris. Thailand watches helplessly. Their extradition request sits in bureaucratic limbo as months become years. By 1995, the statute of limitations on the earliest murders expires. By 1997, every charge dissolves into legal vapor. Thai prosecutors, once hungry for a death sentence, close their files and slide them into archives. They lost a game they didn't know had started until it was already over. In February 1997, Charles Sobraj walks out of Tihar's gates, 52 years old and genuinely free. The Thai warrant is worthless paper. He boards a plane to Paris, cameras flashing at the departure gate, and lands in France, a citizen protected by laws that forbid extraditing nationals for crimes now erased by time. He signs book deals. Film producers circle with contract offers. Journalists buy him espresso in Montmartre cafes, while he recounts capers that left bodies across 2 continents. He transformed capture into victory, prison into sanctuary, and an escape into a life sentence he actually wanted. But hubris has a longer memory than statutes, and Sobraj never learned when to quit while ahead. In 2003, Sobraj makes a decision that baffles everyone who followed his story. He flies to Nepal, a country that never forgot the 2 Western tourists found murdered in Kathmandu in December 1975. Connie Jo Bronzish, a 29-year-old American, and Laurent Carrière, a 26-year-old Canadian, both strangled in circumstances bearing Sobraj's signature. Nepali law carries no statute of limitations on homicide. The case remains open, the evidence preserved. Why would a man who spent 11 years engineering his own imprisonment to avoid extradition voluntarily enter another country that still wants him for murder? Some speculate arrogance, the belief that he'd escaped justice so many times that luck had become skill. The answer may be simpler. Charles Sobraj never learned to quit while ahead. Within weeks of arriving, a journalist recognizes him at a Kathmandu casino. Police surround the building. This time there's no elaborate scheme, no sedative-laced suites, no 4-dimensional chess. Just an old man caught in a country that never stopped wanting justice. Nepali courts convict him of murder in 2004. The sentence, life imprisonment. Appeals fail. For nearly 2 decades, the serpent sits in Kathmandu's central jail, not as a king with bribed guards and feather pillows, but as a frail, aging inmate suffering heart disease and fading eyesight. In December 2023, at 78, Nepal releases him on humanitarian grounds, a dying man no longer worth the cost of incarceration. He returns to France in a wheelchair, body broken, legend hollow. The escape artist who outwitted Thailand and manipulated India couldn't resist one final gamble. Nepal's patience outlasted his luck. His story proves something uncomfortable. Brilliance without conscience devours itself. Every scheme, every drugged victim, every courtroom manipulation led him back to a prison cell. If you want to see another criminal...
Well, not really. He got out, though. That was crazy. That was crazy. He getting up going out, then they gonna let him out because he was too old? That's crazy. That was a wild one, y'all. Pretty good too, I must say. That was pretty good. At first it was kind of unbelievable. They kind of went off the deep end a little bit. but they brought it back nicely. I'm gonna give it to them. Nice recovery on that one. I got one that has the AI reenactments and the real life. The dudes that set up their homeboy. Let's go.
At around 10:30 a.m. on December 14th, 2018, emergency dispatchers in Lansing, Michigan received a frantic call from a man who had just walked into his friend's apartment and made a disturbing discovery.
911, what's the location of your emergency?
I think the ambulance. I just came into my friend's house and I found him. Yeah.
Do you think that he's beyond help?
He's not breathing. He's not moving. He's been like this, it looks like, for a minute.
What makes you think that he's been there for a while?
He's hard. No, he was shot. Somebody shot him.
Officers and detectives from the Lansing Police Department rushed to the scene to find a crime scene just as disturbing as what had been described on the call. As they entered the apartment building, the first red flags appeared. There were no signs of forced entry, and the door to the victim's apartment was slightly ajar.
Lansing Police, screen your mix-up known. Ready? Watch your stuff. Is he underneath that cushion? Going right. Okay. They tossed it. They were looking for something. He's under here. All right, we're gonna lift this.
They found a black male lying face down in a pool of blood, shot in the head, with multiple gunshot wounds to his torso, and his body was already cold to the touch. It was clear that this was a homicide. But what exact events led to his death remained a complete mystery for now.
Let's grab, if you want to grab 2 medics, you'll need the whole engine crew in here and everything else. Come up here and go from there, okay? Chris is on his way, he'll be here in just a second. The rest of us will back out and hold this door.
As officers worked their way through the crime scene, they still hadn't identified the victim. Dispatch advised them that the 911 caller was still on scene. But at that point, he could have been a witness or a suspect. And given the nature of the crime, officers were not willing to take any chances.
Okay, you want to just come back to my car? I'll set you down real quick for what is and what not, okay? And then we're going to go to the passenger side. This vehicle right here. Just until we can get everything figured out and then get somebody to interview you. Situation like this, definitely don't want to lose you, you know what I mean? Take a seat right there. So who is he? Is he your buddy or? Okay. Well, I'm sorry for your loss.
The caller identified the victim as 28-year-old Donovan Barfield, remembered by his family as a devoted father, a loyal son, and a good friend. As officers continued questioning the 911 caller, he identified himself as Joe, a friend and former roommate of Donovan's.
I've known him for about 4 or 5 years.
What's his last name?
Barfield.
Why'd you come over here today?
I came to grab some tools.
What'd you notice when you opened the door? Was it unlocked?
When I came in the door was like, it was unlocked. But when I stuck my key in, like the door just kind of like pushed open. So when I went in, like I seen the crib, like it looked like somebody went through the whole crib. So I'm calling for him, like, Luke. That's what I call him, Luke. I'm calling his name. I don't hear anything.
So you said you had a key for the apartment? Why do you have a key?
Yeah, my girl had been so I kind of been staying up here.
How long have you been staying? When did you last see him?
Last night, what time is it? Like 8 o'clock.
Do you know anybody that was having any issues? Anybody?
Nobody. I don't know. Really.
Joe appeared deeply emotional, but to officers he was also noticeably nervous. And when detectives arrived on the scene, they made a very curious observation about the shell casings near Donovan's body, a detail that would later reveal a much deeper connection to Joe.
Any cartridge cases or anything? No, that's yeah, it's right here. There's one.
Detectives noticed shell casings from 2 different firearms scattered across the scene, a clear sign that more than one person had been involved in Donovan's killing. But since there were no signs of forced entry, it strongly suggests that they could be Donovan's friends.
All right, so what's going to happen? I'm going to take you down to our police department, and the detectives are going to talk to you there, get your whole story, try to figure this out, okay?
Since Joe had lived with Donovan, detectives strongly suspected that he knew more than he was letting on. And as they canvassed the neighborhood, they uncovered new clues that only deepened the mystery.
Hey, sorry to wake you up if I did. We had an incident that occurred in the apartments right across the walkway. I was wondering if you may have heard anything last night.
I heard some shooting, but I don't know what it was. I didn't know if it was. I wasn't about to look out the window.
Yeah. What time was that?
Maybe 2 or something. I don't know.
So early morning-ish.
Yeah, I believe that, but that's.
Do you know how many gunshots did you hear approximately?
It's not about like 7 or 8.
7 or 8. You hear anybody yelling or anything like that, or just heard the gunshots? That was it.
No, I just heard doors slamming. Shoot. I lay down. I'm sorry.
I do not blame you at all. Not at all.
That's crazy.
They were police out late at night, and they got into the vehicles out here and broken vehicles.
When was that?
Let's see, Tuesday night. Let's see here. One day they were asking her for money.
Okay. So did anybody else have any problems with them, or that's the oddest thing that's happened lately?
Yeah, it's like they've been here all week.
Do you know about how old they are, or do you guys have video cameras, or?
I don't know how old they are.
Did these kids have problems with anybody?
No, they come every night. They stealing, breaking car. They sleep in the union, breaking the door.
We've only had one this past week.
The building manager's testimony immediately set off red flags for investigators. They were already looking for 2 suspects. There was a strong chance that these were the same men that were responsible for Donovan's murder. And as detectives spoke with 2 eyewitnesses, the urgency to find the suspects only intensified.
So what happened on Wednesday that was different, or?
2 guys come down, knock on our window.
What window?
Right there
where the sign is?
Yep.
All right, how do you, when you say they came down, where do you know they came from?
Down that way.
Did you know what apartment?
No.
Okay, no.
And the young kid said, I'll pay you $10, let me spend the night. I said, I'm gonna call the police, get out of here.
Okay, so what, can you describe the kids?
One was short.
Okay, was he black, white, Hispanic?
Both black.
Okay, black male. He was short, like how short?
The one was short.
Yeah, one was about this tall, and the other one was a little bit taller. And the one that was shorter was hiding behind the other, so where it looked like it was just one person there.
He carries a gun.
The taller guy has a backpack? How do you know he has a gun?
Because when he walked away, and you know how they have that other little pocket on the back part, you know, it has the big zipper on it, and then they have a little, you can see a shape of one.
This statement left detectives with chilling realization. 2 armed suspects were still moving freely through the neighborhood, with access to the building, turning the area into a dangerous place where anyone could be the next victim. But, despite reports of thefts and drug deals, there was very little for detectives to go on. The building had no surveillance cameras, and so by that point, the question of who shot Donovan Barfield and why remained completely unknown. The only person who might have known why someone would want Donovan dead was Joe, but detectives didn't know that he was not willing to give up his dark secret just yet.
Tell me about the buzzer box outside.
Not the
When was so the last time you were home the night before, right?
That's how I know somebody did. Somebody he knows. Because the only way you can get in the door is if somebody buzzed you in the door. Okay? So it's like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like a metal box. If y'all go over there and it wasn't even closed all the way, basically. So as soon as I stuck the key, it just opened.
Okay.
So I just walked in.
Okay. You walk in the apartment, where do you go?
I closed the door. As soon as I closed the door, I looked to the kitchen.
Uh-huh.
And I see everything through everywhere. So I walked up in the kitchen a little bit. Walked out to the living room, back into the living room like Luke, screaming out his name. You know what I'm saying? Saying to be in there. I'm like, it looked like somebody, trying to rob.
Okay.
But I didn't no answer. So I kind of like walked by the couch, and he was like under the mattress.
Did you go in the bedroom or anything?
No.
First, you stayed in the main area? Mm-hmm. Okay, you walked over. Was there a part of him sticking out of it?
It was like,
oftentimes we're not always necessarily proud of everything we've done. And I'm not here to judge Luke, and we're not speaking ill of anybody that's deceased. But these things help us figure out what happened, right? Again, not here to judge, but I feel like maybe you could tell us something about his lifestyle that maybe led up to this. Am I right here?
Yeah. He's from Detroit. I know he'd be in a lot of stuff down there, so I don't know if it could be something from there.
Okay.
Because he never let me go down there with me.
Joe shares that Donovan was not originally from Lansing, and suspected his connections from Detroit were behind his death.
He won't let me go out with him over there. Because he don't know what happens to him. Gotcha. So I know he be doing some stuff down there. Down here, I know he do his little hustles on the side with the weed and stuff like that. But as far as like him having problems with somebody or something like that, I ain't never known him to get into it with one person up there.
Okay.
If he keeps to himself, he's a real private person.
Okay. Any other hustles besides weed? Again,
that's all I ever seem to do was weed. I try to stick around my business.
Right. When he moved up here in September, was he coming from Detroit?
No. Some people are real private, but I ain't never seen him. As much as I've been around him, I've never seen him have a gun.
Excuse me.
Every time we go to Detroit, every time that I've been with him, a couple times, we keep it on there.
You keep the gun when you go to the deal. Okay.
Spend some money on him or something. There's got to be something like that.
Okay.
As Joe's interview wrapped up, detectives had no idea that he would return later with more shocking evidence. For now, they questioned whether Donovan's past in Detroit was tied to his murder. And to better understand that chapter of his life, they reached out to Donovan's mother.
So you refer to your son as Lou?
Well, his friends knew. I just told him every now and then I come back. That's his name.
Okay. Is Lou a middle name?
No. He didn't have a name.
Okay. What's your understanding of where Lou was living? What would you prefer to be called?
Donnie.
Okay. What would your understanding overall? We all have things in our past that we're not proud of. Certain people lead certain lifestyles. Is there anything in his past that in either Lansing or Detroit that could have led to this?
I just, well, they told me that he he was supposed to be trying to gamble at this friend's house, and she didn't want him to gamble there, so I don't know maybe he came to this apartment and gamble. I don't know some numbers. None of her bad stories about people like that.
Okay.
I have, so that was the only thing I could, think of.
Okay. What type?
Dice, and play cards. And those, like, he was at my house, he told me to go somewhere with the casino street.
When's the last time you spoke with Donovan?
Day before yesterday.
Detectives began forming a theory that Donovan's gambling may have played a role in his murder. But that came with a major problem. If Donovan had been gambling with multiple people, then the suspect pool only grew wider, making it difficult to pin down whether he owed someone money or if someone was after his cash. And just as the case started to feel buried under too many possibilities, detectives suddenly got a surprise visit from one of Donovan's friends, Anthony Brown, who walked in with exactly the kind of information that they had been searching for.
Okay. Have you ever played dice with him before? Yeah. All right. Did you do the high roller? Yeah.
They probably like they shoot dice when they shoot dice. Well, I had just got out of jail like a couple months ago, so I haven't been able to get a job or nothing.
Sure.
So I actually have pocket change whatever. Like my mom would let me get money. I have a girlfriend that works in Jackson, so she's coming out on the weekend. So like she would cash out me money every now and then. So like I really just try to save and help my mom with bills as much as I can.
Right.
So that's what I would do. I would shoot dice, try to get some money to help out. Right.
Okay. What's the most you've ever seen Blue with? Big old stack?
I'm not sure. He probably had about $200 on it.
Okay. That's kind of typical, normal. Yeah. If you had to guess, would you say it's Lansing people or Detroit people that do this?
I'd probably say Lansing, just because he had a lot of his school here. I don't know what he had going on in Detroit because I never saw him like Lansing. He always was here. He shot dice a lot, so I don't know. He could have probably shot dice with the wrong person and probably set him up anything.
Did he flash money?
He flashed money like let's say he got drunk or was at a show, like he got friends that rap and stuff, so he'd be with them. They're from Detroit. So I don't know, like he flashed money around other people.
Anthony mentioned seeing Donovan the night of his murder at a friend's house, and there was a discussion about a dice game, but it ultimately never happened.
Well, I need you to copy that next. Did you have anything to do with who's death? No. Okay. Did you hear about anything after the fact? Any rumors? Anything?
No. I just saw it.
Okay. Your fingerprints and DNA will not be in his apartment at all because you've never been inside that apartment?
Yeah.
Never been inside? Yes.
While Anthony had stepped forward to help, the information that he provided only narrowed things down slightly. Detectives now believe that their suspects were likely from Lansing, but beyond that, they still had nothing concrete. No names, no faces, no visual leads. And without those, they were left chasing theories in the dark, all while the suspects could have been planning their next move. Just as it felt like time was slipping away, detectives received a chilling call from Donovan's family. They shared disturbing information about Joe, the same 911 caller who had discovered Donovan's body. Joe had told one of Donovan's family members that he had set up a computer in the corner of Donovan's bedroom, equipped with motion-activated software that was designed to start recording automatically. According to Joe, that computer had captured video of the suspects just moments before Donovan was killed. And so for the first time, the detectives had a real lead, one that could finally point them to the killers. But they also realized Joe hadn't been fully honest about what had happened the morning that he called 911. The video that they needed could be erased at any moment, and unless Joe told them where it was, the evidence and the truth could disappear with it. Detectives immediately tracked down Joe, who voluntarily came in for a second interview.
You have a chance to put his family's mind at ease. Okay? I mean, this is the moment of truth. We're either giving his family the answers they deserve, we're giving Lou the justice he deserves, or we're giving the middle finger to all of them. We're giving Lou the justice he deserves, or we're giving the middle finger to all of them.
What you gonna do?
This is your choice right here, right now. Like I tell my little kid, okay? It is almost always easy. It's absolutely always easy to figure out the right thing to do, okay? But it's almost never the easiest thing to do. You hear where I'm going with that? You know the right thing to do, but it's not the easiest thing to do. The easiest thing to do is to toss that laptop in a river and head out of state somewhere. That's the easiest thing to do.
I mean, think about those images, and you hold the key. You hold the key to help all these people. You need to help us and tell us what exactly happened. What went on there? I know you found them, and an image you haven't got out of your head since the moment you found them. But what else happened in there? What were you trying to protect them from?
In this investigation, Lou's always going to be my number one priority.
That person always end up dead.
He can't figure out. He can't do his job, but I can hand this to him. That's a powerful feeling. Give me that video. Give me the truth. Give me the names of the people that threatened you. Give me the name of the motherfucker that killed me. And I promise you I'll do my job. Okay, here it is. If I don't get that laptop, you're going to be arrested for obstruction. Felony. Okay? That's it. All right? That's your boy. That's your man.
Got me in the middle. I'm the one getting death threats. I ain't did nothing.
At least tell me this, okay? At least tell me this. For God's sakes, you didn't delete it, did you? You didn't delete it, did you? Please tell me you didn't. You didn't delete that shit, right? It's way too late for that. It's way too late for that. We're here. You did not delete that, did you? It exists, right? The video still exists, right? You didn't screw up your man's investigation, did you? You don't have a choice here, man. You're either a cooperative witness or you're an obstructionist. You're either obstructing a murder investigation or you're a cooperative witness. You can make that decision for yourself right now. Is it gone? Am I beating my head against the wall here? That's your boy, okay? You lived with him. You found, you know what? I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy, to find your boy dead in your own apartment, okay? I feel for you here, all right? And I'm not so sure I wouldn't have thoughts of getting my own bit of justice. I'd probably have thoughts too. I know I would. I know I'd have thoughts of getting my own, little bit of street justice, okay? But you haven't passed the point of no return yet. Just please tell me you didn't delete it. For the love of God, did you delete it? You did not delete it, okay. Thank God. Thank God.
Joe told detectives that when he found Donovan, he removed the computer that had captured the video, hid it at a friend's house, watched part of the footage, and then returned to the scene and called 911. So detectives could now confirm that the video existed, but they still had no idea where Joe had hidden it. And with time running out, they needed that information before the evidence either fell into the wrong hands or vanished entirely.
There's nothing you can do to change it. Your name's on this. It's what you do now that makes you a man or makes you a punk. It's what you do now.
At this point, that's all we need. We need that piece. We need that piece of the puzzle right today. And you have it.
Can you make the call and get him here?
Okay. Eventually, Joe admitted that a friend had been holding onto the computer for him. Detectives immediately sent over a patrol officer to retrieve it and bring the computer back to the station as evidence. This was finally the moment that they would see their suspects for the first time. And this footage was just the smoking gun that the detectives needed. In the video, detectives saw one of the suspects rifling through the room, grabbing items and moving things around. One of the things taken was a leather backpack sitting on the bed. At one point, one suspect turned and faced the camera, giving detectives a clear enough image to grab a screenshot. The footage also showed a second suspect carrying a firearm and also holding a pair of black sneakers. But the discovery didn't stop there. What detectives saw next made the case far more dangerous and pushed the urgency to find the suspects to a critical level.
Somebody had to be at least in there with him.
So you think there's a third person in the room with him?
There's gotta be.
In another clip, there was a third suspect wearing a different pair of clothing. And detectives now knew that they were looking at 3 homicide suspects. But the detectives couldn't get a clear shot of the other 2 suspects. And so, once again, they turned to Joe for information. And this time, he was completely honest.
As large as I think, my plan was to put it on the flash drive. And then we do it together.
Like anonymously or something? What do you have to do?
Probably just because somehow started. You can hold the power button.
You want to do that?
When you were watching this time,
I swear to you, I've never seen a day in my life. I swear, never seen them. That's why I said it was.
You know what these body make it look like, and was anybody who didn't think of them?
It just looked like kids, like young kids, like
little kids.
I ain't never seen them around me before. Never.
And nobody in that family.
Although Joe had initially lied to the detectives, they were able to verify his alibi for the night of Donovan's murder and confirm that he had no involvement in his death. But solving the puzzle of Donovan's murder was only just beginning. Detectives now had 3 potentially armed suspects to track down, and they had to move fast before someone else ended up dead. An anonymous Crime Stoppers tip pointed them to a man named Neil Prince, who was trying to steal items stolen from Donovan's home through his Facebook profile. What was even more shocking was that Neil's face matched the screenshot that the detectives had pulled from the video. Detectives still had no leads on the other 2 suspects, though, and with Neil out there tied to evidence from Donovan's homicide, they knew that they had to catch him as soon as possible. Detectives obtained a search warrant for Neil's home and found stolen items in his bedroom, including the sneakers seen in the video. He was arrested and immediately brought in for questioning. Everything was now riding on this moment. Neil's statement could finally lead detectives to the other 2 suspects, or leave them with nothing at all.
Hey, Mr. Prince. How are you, sir? My name's Mike. I'm the second for police department. My name's I'm gonna fix this chair so you can sit. Yeah, we were talking last week about a homicide that occurred over on Bayview on December 14th. Specifically. Okay. Understand that we did not come to your house. We're not talking to you by. It's not just random. Just put your name out of that. You have information available to us that you think that we have some knowledge about that incident that you can share with us. Okay. We want to get your side of the story. Everybody has a side of the story. We want to hear what you know about the situation, what went on that night. We're talking to you because the stuff that I'm telling you is the truth. So what we need you to do, take a deep breath, explain to us what happened that night over at the apartment on Bayview. Okay. Like I said, let me ask you this. Did you know that there was surveillance footage in the apartment? Did you know that there was surveillance footage in the apartment? Yes or no? Yes. Okay, I will tell you there was surveillance footage in the apartment. You were on the surveillance footage. Do you realize that? No, I'm not bullshitting. So I'm giving you an opportunity to tell us what happened. So knowing that you're over there on video, somebody has identified you. There's certain items in the apartment that we found that came from the apartment. You understand that you know what? You understand that we're not BSing. This is your opportunity. I don't know how else to make that clear. I can't put words in your mouth. I have an idea of how what occurred and what happened, but I can't sit here and put words in your mouth. This is your opportunity to tell us what went on.
I'm telling you that there's a dead man's property in your apartment. I'm telling you that I know that someone had put you in that area, and you're telling me that you weren't there. I know you were there, but what I need to know, Neil, is what happened. You're the only one who can help me with that. I need to know what happened. Well, tell me about the other people who were in the apartment then.
I don't know what you're talking about. That's why you have to tell you those stories. Is that why you don't want to talk to us? Because you're the one who did the shooting? I don't want to talk about it. If you didn't do the shooting, why don't you tell us who did? We know you were there. Talk to us, Neil. I'm trying.
You're not. You're sleepy, and I'm having a conversation with you.
I got some things for murder. Y'all just expect me to just sit here and tell everything there's nothing to tell.
Detectives pressed on, but Neil denied any involvement in Donovan's murder. However, there was enough evidence now to charge him with homicide.
But that's the story you want to stick with.
We'll get your ride, Neil. You're going to be heading downtown. Okay? You come back.
But it still wasn't enough. Detectives had yet to identify the other two suspects, and just when it seemed like the leads had run dry, they received word of an arrest that completely flipped what they thought they understood about the case. Donovan's friend, Anthony Brown, the same man who had come forward with information, was later pulled over by police. During the stop, officers found firearms that appeared to be consistent with the shell casings recovered from Donovan's home, raising new questions about the already murky case. Detectives now knew that they had to get Anthony into a room to find out what really happened, and also where the third suspect was hiding. They were closer than ever to solving this case, and everything now hinged on what Anthony would say next.
Do you know what can happen to somebody that provides false information on how? So what do you think if all the registrars went through your cell phone? What do you think would show your location? During this homicide. Where would it show your location of your cell phone? Do you think? Where I thought about that. When I ask you these questions, Anthony, it's because I already know. Did you see this map before I closed this folder? Real quick, you see that map? All right. It's a map of you and homicide chamber. Okay, so let me throw this out there. Rather than, the evidence is just mounting on you. So rather than sticking with this story and implicating your sister in a homicide, asking her to alibi you, let's just get it out there. Let's just get it out there. Now, I'm not saying that you're a cold-blooded killer. What I'm saying is, you're there. You're there in some capacity. I'm not saying you pulled the trigger. I'm not saying you showed up with a plan to kill him. What I'm saying is, you were there, shit went sideways, and does that. Even if you didn't mean for that to happen. Even if you didn't mean for that to happen, it happened, and I can prove it. Okay, so I mean, if you want, what's that? Like you, but I'm in a lawyer or something. Okay, I don't know much about the law. I'm not. Okay, what you going on? All right. Well, you want an attorney right now, you're saying? Okay. So other than that, we have one other piece of business to take care of. No more questions. However, have a shit from you. Okay. Now you didn't receive a receipt after I served this.
Now, while Anthony refused to talk, detectives at least had two suspects connected to Donovan's murder behind bars now. Nearly 3 months after Donovan's murder, a juvenile named Willie Fletcher came forward with his attorney and confessed to being the third person in exchange for a deal. He gave detectives a detailed, step-by-step account of what happened that night, and identified Anthony as the mastermind. Willie explained that Anthony knew that Donovan had cash, and so he set him up with a fake dice game as a robbery. According to Willie, Anthony instructed him to shoot Donovan in the back. After that, Anthony walked up to Donovan and shot him twice more in the head, before all three proceeded to rob his belongings. Willie also told detectives that Anthony had threatened to kill his parents if he ever spoke about the shooting. So in the end, Donovan Barfield was killed over a small amount of cash and a handful of stolen items. Neil Prince and Anthony Brown were both convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Good.
Willie Fletcher was sentenced to 60 years in prison with the possibility of parole after 28 years. At around 10:30 a.m.
Good for they ass. Lock them up. Don't do that to that dude over the damn little dice game, little whack ass. That was so whack. And it was stupid too, which is the crazy thing about it. Hey man, go ahead and give me a thumbs up or a like or whatever and subscribe if you like that late night crime. You dig. Welcome everybody to the channel. This is just how we do it. I appreciate everybody been sprinkling me with the jewels. I got a super chat goal if y'all want this to go super late, so please contribute to the super chat if you support the channel. Shout out to my mods and my members and everybody making everybody feel real comfortable in the chat. I appreciate a no nonsense chat. And I'm going to just go ahead and keep y'all with the crime. Now, let's go ahead and get to, because I need some rapid fire right now. 13 women on the most wanted list. Let's go.
In 75 years, the FBI has put 541 people on its 10 most wanted list. Only 13 of them have been women. One buried a girl alive in a box. One was a college professor. One stole $4 billion with fake crypto. These are all 13. Number 1, December 1968, Ruth Eisenman Shear became the first woman on the 10 most wanted list, added in 1968 for kidnapping, extortion, and other crimes. She and boyfriend Gary Christ kidnapped 20-year-old heiress Barbara Jane Mackle from a Georgia motel and buried her alive in a fiberglass box with an air pump and a lamp, demanding $500,000. Mackle spent 83 hours underground before police found her. Eisenman Shear ran for 79 days before being caught in Norman, Oklahoma. Number 2, Marie Dean Arrington. In May 1969, she was placed on the FBI's 10 most wanted list. In 1968, she murdered the legal secretary of the public defender, who failed to get her kids acquitted. Sentenced to death, she escaped prison in 1969, which put her on the list, caught nearly 3 years later in New Orleans. Number 3, on August 18th, 1970, Angela Yvonne Davis became the third woman ever placed on the FBI's top 10. A 26-year-old UCLA philosophy professor and activist, guns registered to her were used in a courtroom escape attempt that left a judge dead. She spent 2 months on the run. She was acquitted in 1972. Number 4, Bernardine Ray Dorn, law student turned revolutionary. She believed America needed a revolution and helped bomb the Capitol and the Pentagon. Removed from the list in 1973 when charges dropped, she hid for 10 more years with husband Bill Ayers. Number 5, Catherine Ann Power. She helped rob a bank to fund anti-war protests. A cop was killed. She escaped and lived 23 years as a chef and food writer in Oregon under a fake name.
Wow.
Then walked into a police station and turned herself in. Number 6, Susan Edith Sachs. Same robbery, same list. Susan Sachs. She ran for 5 years. Caught in 1975 in Philadelphia. Served 7 years. Number 7, Donna Jean Wilmot. 17 years with no women. Then Donna plotted to blow up Leavenworth Prison to free a Puerto Rican nationalist.
Damn.
She and her partner found an FBI bug in their car and vanished. They became beloved charity workers in Pittsburgh for 9 years before the FBI found them in 1994. Number 8, Shaunti Henderson, the fastest woman ever. Shaunti Henderson was captured the same day she was added to the top 10 list.
What?
Wanted for shooting a man at a Kansas City gas station. Less than 24 hours on the list. Later convicted of manslaughter. Number 9, Brenda Delgado, placed on the list April 6, 2016, for a murder-for-hire plot that led to the death of a prominent pediatric dentist in Dallas. Kendra Hatcher was dating Delgado's ex. Delgado hired a hitman. She fled to Mexico and was caught 2 days after being placed on the list in Torreon. Number 10, Shanika Minor. 2 months after Brenda, Shanika Minor shot and killed her pregnant neighbor and former classmate after an argument about loud music, fled to North Carolina. Caught 3 days later, sentenced to 30 years. Number 11, Ruja Ignatova, the only one still out there. Ruja Ignatova is only the 11th woman on the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitives list. The crypto queen, wanted for her alleged leadership of OneCoin, a massive fraud scheme that stole over $4 billion. She disappeared in Athens in October 2017. $5 million reward. She may have had plastic surgery. Number 12, Cindy Rodriguez Singh. On July 1st, 2025, she was added to the FBI 10 most wanted fugitives list. Wanted for capital murder of her 6-year-old son and unlawful flight. Accused of murdering her 6-year-old son, Noel Rodriguez Alvarez, in Everman, Texas, and fleeing to India in March 2023. Found in New Delhi after 50 days on the list. Number 13. Kashan Nicola Roper, the newest woman ever. Kashan Nicola Roper was wanted for her alleged involvement in a shooting on August 23, 2020, in Kansas City, Missouri. During an altercation, she fired into a car, killing one woman. She was captured in High Springs, Florida, one day after being added. As of April 2026, 541 fugitives had been listed, 13 of them women.
Wow. What the hell is going on in Kansas City? Kansas City will get with you. They ain't playing no games. What? They running up on the car giving you the business. In Kansas City. Now, this one intrigued me too. I think it's going to intrigue y'all as well. Have you the baddest mofo in the world? This supposed to be the meanest man in American serial killer history. The meanest man. This is what they say.
How does a man who is already locked away for multiple murders and serving life sentences commit one last impossible killing? This is the story of Donald Pee Wee Gaskins, a man who earned the media nickname of the meanest man in America and proved that not even a state prison could contain his evil. His life was a terrifying descent into pure malice, a journey that started in the neglected backwoods of South Carolina and ended in the electric chair, leaving behind a legacy of horror that is hard to wrap your head around. Donald Henry Gaskins was born in Florence County, South Carolina, in 1933.
Yeah.
Right from the start, the odds were stacked against him. He was born into crushing poverty, and his early life was reportedly one of chaos and neglect. Small for his age, he was saddled with the nickname Pee Wee, a name that followed him his entire life, and one that he grew to despise. That nickname, a constant reminder of his physical stature, stood in stark contrast to the monstrous reputation he would one day build. His childhood was a catalog of horrors, or so he would later claim. It's important to note that many details from this period come from Gaskins himself and are difficult, if not impossible, to verify, but they paint a grim picture. Some accounts, likely originating with him, claim that as a toddler, he drank a bottle of kerosene, leading to convulsions for years. He was a target for bullies at school and allegedly endured constant beatings at home. He dropped out of school around the age of 11, his formal education replaced by a life of petty crime. By his early teens, Gaskins had already graduated from fistfights to far more serious offenses. He fell in with a small gang, and their activities quickly escalated from burglary to assault. He was sent to a reform school, a place that, instead of correcting his path, only seemed to harden him. He learned that in a world of predators, the only way to survive was to become the most dangerous one. His early life was a pressure cooker of instability and alleged abuse, forging a personality that seemed to lack any empathy and was filled with a simmering rage, just waiting for an outlet. It wouldn't have to wait long. After years in and out of the prison system for crimes like assault and robbery, something inside Donald Gaskins shifted. The violence of his youth began to sharpen into something more deliberate and focused. In the late 1960s, he began what he'd later call his coastal kills. He would cruise the highways of South Carolina, sometimes in a hearse he used for his auto body business, and pick up mega unsuspecting hitchhikers. These were murders of opportunity. Driven by a compulsion he barely understood himself, he would later brag about killing dozens this way, though these claims were never substantiated. But Gaskins didn't just kill strangers. He soon transitioned to what he called his serious murders, killing people he knew. These killings were often personal, born of rage, revenge, or a cold-blooded calculation to silence a potential problem. In November 1970, his own 15-year-old niece, Janice Kirby, and her 17-year-old friend, Patricia Ann Alsbrook, became his victims. The reason he gave was anger over their behavior, but the result was the same. 2 young lives brutally ended. His choice of victims was terrifyingly broad. He killed men, women, teenagers, and even a 2-year-old child. His motives were just as varied. He killed for money to cover up other crimes, and sometimes, it seemed, for the sheer pleasure of it. He used guns, knives, poison, and his bare hands. A multifaceted approach to murder that showcased a chilling and dark creativity. You see, Gaskins was a pathological liar and a master manipulator. In his confessions, he claimed to have killed over 100 people. While authorities have only convicted him for 10 murders, the true number is buried under a mountain of boasts and fabrications. Was he trying to build a legacy as a master killer? Or was he telling the truth? The uncertainty only adds to the horror. For years, he was a ghost, a predator hiding in plain sight, his private graveyard filling up while the world remained oblivious. The downfall of Donald Pee Wee Gaskins didn't come from a brilliant detective or a forensic breakthrough. It came from one of the oldest reasons in the book, a guilty conscience. In November 1975, a criminal associate named Walter Neely, who had helped Gaskins, cracked under the pressure of what he'd done. He confessed to police that Gaskins had killed several people, and crucially, that he knew where they were buried. On December 4th, 1975, Neely led investigators to a patch of land Gaskins owned in the rural community of Prospect. There, they began to dig. One by one, the bodies came out of the ground. In the end, police unearthed the remains of 8 of his victims from that single site. Gaskins was arrested and charged with multiple counts of murder. In May 1976, a jury found him guilty of murder and sentenced him to death. However, the legal landscape of capital punishment was changing. Due to legal shifts following the landmark Furman versus Georgia Supreme Court case, which led to states rewriting their death penalty laws, Gaskins' death sentence was overturned. Instead, he received multiple life sentences and was sent to South Carolina's Central Correctional Institution. The story should have ended right there.
Yeah.
But for Pee Wee Gaskins, prison wasn't the end. It was just a new hunting ground. On September 12th, 1982, an explosion rocked the supposedly secure death row block of the prison. The victim was Rudolph Tyner, an inmate who was himself on death row for murdering an elderly couple during a robbery. Investigators were baffled. How could a bomb have been detonated inside one of the state's most secure facilities?
Right.
The answer led them to a very unlikely assassin, the 5'4" Pee Wee Gaskins. It turned out Gaskins had become a killer for hire. The son of Tyner's victims, a man named Tony Simo, wanted revenge and felt the appeals process was taking too long.
What?
He contacted Gaskins and hired him to kill Tyner inside the prison. What followed was an act of pure, malevolent ingenuity. After a failed attempt to poison Tyner, Gaskins devised a new plan. He had Simo smuggle in components of a bomb, including C4 plastic explosive. Gaskins then constructed an explosive device disguised as a makeshift intercom, telling Tyner it would allow them to communicate between cells. When Tyner put the device to his ear at an agreed-upon time, Gaskins detonated it. He would later boast, "The last thing he heard was me laughing." This final audacious act sealed both his fate and his legacy. For this murder, Gaskins was once again sentenced to death, and this time, it would stick. It was this crime, committed while he was already imprisoned for multiple murders, that solidified his media nickname, the meanest man in America. He had proven that no walls could truly contain his capacity for murder. On September 6th, 1991, Donald Pee Wee Gaskins was executed in the electric chair. He was pronounced dead at 1:10 a.m. Some reports, often treated as prison lore, claim that just hours before his execution, he tried to cheat the state by cutting his wrists with a smuggled razor blade. Gaskins was officially convicted of 10 murders over his lifetime, but he claimed the real number was over 100. The true body count will likely never be known. He was a man who, by his own admission, killed for every reason imaginable: rage, revenge, money, and simply to relieve bothersome feelings. From a bullied, neglected child to a killer who orchestrated a bombing on death row, his life showed an absolute commitment to evil. He didn't just commit murder, he embraced it, he refined it, and he made it his life's defining work, earning him a permanent and chilling place in the history of crime.
Damn, Pee Wee. Damn, Pee Wee. That was crazy right there. We done heard some crimes, but I don't even think that's like some of the one, because we done heard some ones that was on death row the other night that was like wowzers. Okay, so we always talk about crime in the US. Let's see what's going on across the pond. Let's see how hard and how tough They is across the pond. This is the UK, some prison in the UK.
In this video, we are going to take a close look at 10 notorious inmates within HMP Franklin II Monster Mansion. Lane Couzens, a former Metropolitan Police officer serving a whole life sentence. In 2021, he used his warrant card and the guise of a COVID-19 breach to kidnap, SA, and murder 33-year-old Sarah Everard. Inside, he is one of the most heavily guarded men in the UK, Levi Belfield, a prolific serial killer, serving 2 whole-life orders. Belfield stalked and murdered young women across London, showing zero remorse. In Franklin, he remains completely isolated, a predator, locked away forever. Michael Adebolajo, an Islamic extremist serving a whole life term for the public. Broad daylight murder of British Army soldier Lee Rigby. Adebolajo represents the violent ideological faction heavily monitored within Franklin's high-security wings. Thomas Mayer, a far-right extremist serving a whole life sentence. In June 2016, Mayer assassinated Labour MP Jo Cox in her constituency, an act of political terrorism that shocked the democratic world. David Copeland, the London nail bomber. Over 13 days in 1999, Copeland waged a targeted terror campaign against London's minority and LGBTQ+ communities, killing 3 and injuring over 100. He is serving 6 life sentences.
Damn.
Damien Bendel, serving a whole life order for the horrific 2021 Killamarsh killings. Bendel murdered his pregnant partner and 3 young children. In the rigid hierarchy of the prison system, his crimes place him in constant danger from other inmates. Charles Taylor, the former president of Liberia and a convicted international war criminal, sentenced to 50 years for crimes against humanity. Taylor was transferred to Franklin in 2013 under a special international agreement. Vikram Digwa, convicted of the December 2025 murder of 18-year-old Southampton University student Henry Nowak, Digwa was handed life with a 21-year minimum. Upon arriving at Franklin, leaks revealed he was literally shaking with fear, terrified of the prison's reputation and desperate to avoid the general wings. Mark Dixie, a violent sex offender serving a minimum of 34 years. Dixie was convicted of the brutal 2005 murder of 18-year-old model Sally Ann Bowman outside her home. A crime solved through breakthrough DNA profiling. Anthony Russell, a ruthless spree killer, already serving a whole life order for a multi-city murder and SA campaign in 2020. Russell's reputation for unhinged violence inside the prison grew exponentially in early 2026. Ian Huntley, the former caretaker who murdered 10-year-olds Holly Wells and Jessica Chapman in 2002. After over 20 years of survival behind bars, Huntley's time ran out on February 26, 2026. He was ambushed in a prison workshop and struck repeatedly with a metal bar.
Okay.
The attacker was Anthony Russell. Huntley died 9 days later in hospital, ending one of the most hated chapters in British criminal history.
Yeah, they get down over there, but it seems like it's really political. It's a lot of political going on over there. It's not like, I don't know, I guess it was senseless violence, I guess. Like a lot of, because over here it's like, it's either, the touchy-feely crime on the grape and all of that, or it's the over the girlfriend jealousy or something like that, or they're getting rid of the police. Like, it's specific, but their crimes are interesting. There's pretty interesting crimes they got. Let's go to so there's a Florence High, the 10 most notorious inmates currently at the USP Florence High. This is in Colorado, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Colorado. So this is like a top-notch joint in Colorado where the worst of the worst go. Let's see what's up.
10 notorious inmates currently at USP Florence High. USP Florence High in Colorado is one of the highest security federal prisons in the United States. It sits inside the same correctional complex as the famous ADX Florence Supermax, but they are 2 completely separate prisons. Today we're counting down 10 of the most notorious and high-profile inmates currently housed at USP Florence High. Number 10, Joshua Brandon Valum. Valum is serving a 49-year federal sentence in a landmark hate crime case. His prosecution became nationally significant because it was the first federal case under the Hate Crimes Prevention Act involving a victim targeted because of gender identity. His projected federal release date is in 2059. Number 9. Hidayat Shahryar Alam Kazi was convicted in a federal terrorism case involving plans for an attack in New York. Prosecutors said he and his brother discussed and researched potential attacks before authorities intervened. Kazi eventually pleaded guilty to conspiracy charges and received a 20-year federal sentence. Number 8. Harlem Suarez. Suarez was arrested in Florida after an undercover federal investigation into an ISIS-inspired terrorism plot. He was convicted of attempting to use a weapon of mass destruction and attempting to provide material support to ISIS. In 2017, he was sentenced to life in federal prison. Number 7. Xavier Babudar, better known as Chief Saholic. Babudar became famous online as a Kansas City Chiefs superfan who regularly attended games dressed in a wolf costume. But investigators eventually connected him to a multi-state series of bank robberies. In 2024, he received a federal sentence of 17 and a half years. Number 6. Kevin Perez, better known as K-Flock Bronx drill rapper. K-Flock became one of the most recognizable younger inmates in the federal system. He was convicted on federal racketeering-related charges, including attempted murder and assault offenses. In December 2025, Perez received a 30-year federal sentence. Number 5. Donald Fell's federal murder case became one of Vermont's most prominent death penalty prosecutions. He was originally sentenced to death, but that conviction was later overturned. In 2018, Fell pleaded guilty to federal murder, kidnapping and carjacking charges, and received a sentence of life without parole. Number 4. Mohammed Salad Ali was involved in the 2011 hijacking of the American Yacht Quest off the coast of Somalia. 4 Americans were taken hostage during the piracy incident and later killed. Ali was convicted of piracy, hostage taking, and related federal offenses, and received multiple life sentences. Number 3. Antonio Murdoch. Simmons was a high-ranking leader of the Nine Trey Gangsters, a Bloods-affiliated gang operating in Virginia's Hampton Roads region. Federal prosecutors connected the organization to a wave of violent crimes, including murders and attempted murders. Simmons was convicted on federal racketeering and related charges, and is currently serving a life sentence at USP Florence High. Number 2. Ronald Raw Diggs. Aaron Herron was identified by federal prosecutors as a leader of a Brooklyn-based Bloods gang. After a lengthy racketeering prosecution, he was convicted of crimes including murder, narcotics trafficking, robbery, and firearms offenses. His punishment was extraordinary. 12 life sentences, plus an additional 105 years. Number 1. Vinny Gorgeous Basciano. At number 1 is one of the most recognizable organized crime figures in federal custody. Vincent Basciano rose through New York's Bonanno crime family and eventually became its acting boss. Federal investigations and testimony from cooperating mobsters led to multiple prosecutions involving racketeering and murder. Basciano was convicted in 2 major federal trials and ultimately received life imprisonment. His organized crime reputation, position within one of New York's 5 families, and lengthy criminal history make Vinny Gorgeous arguably the most infamous prisoner currently housed at USP Florence High.
Vinny. The guy Vinny, huh? Okay. Let me see. Where we going now? Oh, yo. I had heard about that one place. I think this is across the pond too. It says HSP Wakefield. I ain't never heard of that jail here, so I would imagine that it's across the pond. So let me see what they're doing over there. Maybe these are more, like not their federal, and we'll see what kind of scumbags they got over there. But they call it a castle.
In this video, we are going to look at 10 notorious inmates at HMP Wakefield, better known as the Monster Mansion. Harold Shipman, a trusted family doctor. Also, Britain's most prolific serial killer. Shipman murdered up to 250 of his patients before ending his own life inside a Wakefield cell. In 2004, Jeremy Bamber. In 1985, 5 members of the Bamber family were shot dead. Jeremy blamed his sister, but police proved he did it for inheritance money.
Damn.
He remains inside Wakefield on a whole life tariff. Reinhard Sinaga, the most prolific sex offender in British legal history. This former student lured, drugged, and assaulted over 150 men before waking up in a Wakefield cell to face life behind bars.
Damn.
Jamie Varley, one of Wakefield's newest and most reviled arrivals. The former teacher received a whole life sentence for the horrific physical and SA and murder of his 13-month-old adoptive son, Preston.
Man.
He remains under strict protective watch due to immediate inmate threats. Jordan Monahan, a calculating killer serving life with a minimum of 48 years. Monahan was convicted of murdering his 23-year-old girlfriend, as well as his own newborn daughter and 21-month-old son, Sidney Cook, a name that struck terror into the hearts of parents. Cook was the leader of a notorious pedophile ring and a child killer, making him one of the most heavily segregated men inside the prison system. Ian Watkins, the former Lost Prophets singer, shocked the world when convicted of horrific child SA.
What?
His crimes made him a constant target, culminating in a fatal prison attack that ended his life inside Wakefield. Roy Whiting. In the summer of 2000, Whiting kidnapped and murdered 8-year-old Sarah Payne.
Damn.
His crime sparked national outrage and earned him a permanent home in Wakefield's maximum security unit. Mick Philpott, driven by disturbing greed, Philpott set fire to his own home, killing 6 of his children in a twisted plot to frame his ex-partner and secure council housing. Mark Fellows, known on the outside as the Iceman for his ruthless gangland executions, Fellows is one of the most feared men inside the high security system. Already serving a whole life order, he made headlines again when he and 2 other inmates carried out a brutal, fatal cell execution of a convicted child killer, right under the noses of Wakefield guards.
Well, I guess I don't know about how to feel about that one. God darn, they get it in England. Sheesh. Hide your kids, hide your wife. Man. England ain't no joke. Whew. All right, we're gonna keep it moving. I think this one is somewhere else across the pond. Whatever Terre Haute is. I never heard of Terre Haute, but I guess we're gonna find out. I think they give some clues about to where it is. But Terre Haute, ladies and gentlemen, let's go.
USP Terre Haute is best known as the location of the federal execution chamber, but outside its remaining death row population, the Indiana Penitentiary has also housed organized crime leaders, terrorists, kidnappers, and convicted murderers. Here are 10 of its most notorious non-death row inmates. This countdown is arranged for presentation and is not a ranking of the crimes. Number 10. Lawrence Larry Ray. Ray moved into his daughter's college dormitory and gradually gained control over several Sarah Lawrence College students. Prosecutors said he used manipulation, threats, and coercion to exploit his victims for years.
Oh, wow. Convicted
of racketeering, extortion, forced labor, sex trafficking, and other offenses, Ray received a 60-year federal sentence in 2023. Number 9. Raymond Shrimp Boy Chow. Once a prominent figure in San Francisco's Chinatown underworld, Chow became the leader of the Chi Kung Tong organization. In 2016, a federal jury convicted him on 162 charges involving racketeering, money laundering, conspiracy, and the murder of rival organization leader Alan Leung. Chow is serving life imprisonment. Number 8. Isaac Agigui. Agigui was an army private and the leader of an anti-government group known as FEAR, Forever Enduring, Always Ready. He pleaded guilty in Georgia to charges connected to the killings of former soldier Michael Rourke and Rourke's girlfriend, Tiffany York. A military court also convicted him of murdering his pregnant wife, Deirdre. He is serving life without parole. Number 7. Chevy Kehoe. Kehoe led a white supremacist organization that financed itself through robberies and stolen property. He was convicted of racketeering and murder charges connected to the deaths of William and Nancy Mueller and their young daughter. Kehoe avoided a death sentence but received 3 consecutive life terms. Number 6. Ronald Mikos. Mikos was a Chicago-area podiatrist facing a federal investigation into Medicare fraud. Prosecutors said he killed former patient Mary Stasiak shortly before she was expected to testify against him. Mikos was convicted of witness tampering, fraud, and murder. His death sentence was commuted in December 2024, leaving him to serve life without parole. Number 5. Brandon Council. Council entered a South Carolina bank in 2017 and killed employees Donna Major and Catherine Wyatt during the robbery. A federal jury convicted him of armed bank robbery, resulting in death and related firearm charges. Originally sentenced to death, Council's punishment was reduced to life without parole in 2024. Number 4. Rejon Taylor. Taylor was convicted of abducting Tennessee restaurant owner Guy Luck during a carjacking. Prosecutors said Taylor later killed Luck and attempted to sell his vehicle. A federal jury sentenced Taylor to death in 2008. That sentence was commuted to life without parole 16 years later. Number 3. Chadrick Folks. After escaping from a Kentucky jail in 2002, Folks and fellow escapee Brandon Basham began a multi-state crime spree. Folks was convicted of kidnapping and killing South Carolina resident Alice Donovan. His federal death sentence was among those commuted in December 2024. Number 2. Brandon Basham. Basham participated in the same crime spree as Folks and was separately convicted in the Alice Donovan case. He also received lengthy sentences for additional kidnappings, carjackings, and robberies committed after the escape. Basham's death sentence was reduced to life without parole. Number 1. Zaid Hassan Safarini. Safarini led the 1986 hijacking of Pan Am Flight 73 after the aircraft landed in Karachi, Pakistan. The attack left 20 passengers and crew members dead and many others injured. After being captured by the FBI in 2001, Safarini pleaded guilty in federal court and received a 160-year prison sentence.
Yeah, that was deep right there, y'all. Dang, it'd be like 2 hours be coming so quick, man. If y'all enjoy tonight's program, man, you know what I'm saying? Show me some love. I had a super chat little goal for an extra hour or so of programming, you know, but I ain't see nobody hit the super chat, but I appreciate everybody that dropped some of them jewels and all of that. I appreciate everybody that hit the like button and all of that. Y'all, hey, if y'all like that, just go ahead and subscribe. I do this every night. We going over type of crime. We do the long form. We do the rapid fire. We do the whodunits. We do it all, right? Do y'all want to? Y'all come on, man. Y'all want some more of this, man? Sprinkle me a little bit if y'all want a little more. Or we gonna call, or I'm gonna call it, because I was trying to do my little 2 and be through on the late night crime side of the game, you know. So let me know what y'all want to do. You know what I'm saying? It's 2:43 on the West Coast. What y'all doing up so damn late? I'm here trying to listen to some crime. Which a lot of y'all probably at work. You ain't doing your job. You at work listening to some crime. Well, I appreciate that, Lester. That's what's up. I see a lot of y'all tapping in. I ain't see you tap in, but welcome to the channel. Just so y'all know too, David, what's up, brother? I see you there. There's 2 streams going on each channel too. Shout out to the J Lava channel. Shout out to the Keep It P Raw channel. Shout out to the Keep It P podcast channel. If you click on the channel and go to the channel and look on the channel, it's 2 streams. If you run on the one, the one that got the least views, the big one, you can see all of the pictures and stuff a little bit better, because I know some of y'all is on the portrait, and I know y'all see me real small in the corner, and you got the stuff up there at the big and the chat below. But on the big stream, on the landscape, I'm really big. The screen's really big. It's really nice for TVs too, or you turn your phone to the side, at whatever one. But make sure y'all turn on y'all bell for notifications so that you could be alerted each and every time I get ready to do some crime. And for all of those, you know what I'm saying, that can't drop a super chat or any jewels right now, just know that we got them stay alive, don't get murdered joints for all of our crime friends. right? We got them in the t-shirt and that's the wrong one. We got them in the t-shirt and we got them in the hoodies, the crime joints. You know what I'm saying? Stay alive, don't get murdered. You can get those on YouTube. All you got to do is go to the YouTube store on most channels. If not, the link is in the description for sure on every video. And if not, it's really simple and it's really easy to remember. The store is Say It With Your Chest. So you say it with your moves, say it if you're cool, wear it if you ain't scared. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, come on, what's up, y'all, man? Do y'all want to support the channel on more crime? I got some, boy. I got 10 notorious inmates on Alabama death row. I know that's a good one. Hey, love, who is that? Amma, love, Amma, Asia, love, see you there. That's what's up. You know what I'm saying? I'm just, I usually do a 2-hour set. I done ran up on that. I started I think I started at 12:45 and it's 2:45 on the West Coast, y'all. What y'all want to do, Jim Shoe? Or y'all could tap in another day. It's all good with me. You know what I'm saying? I seen the engagement go down. Y'all must be sleepy. I hope y'all ain't fell asleep watching this broadcast. And if y'all did, that's cool. I'm like rain. Crime is like rain for y'all. Go to sleep with some rain. Some rain on. Huh? Matter of fact, let's get a little roll call. Where y'all tapping in from? Let's get this engagement up. That little crime music. Where y'all tapping in from? Put your city, state, country. We said we got Mertavius. Tadius. I'm in Meritaeus. I can't even pronounce that. Well, thank you for tapping in, brother. You know what I'm saying? It's just on the late night crime side of the game with Jay Lava. This is what I do. Hey. Where y'all tapping in from? My crime community. We got Pittsburgh in the house. KC Top. What up with your family? You up late night watching some crime? Okay. We got California, Sacramento up in here. We got Leland, Mississippi up in here. We got Columbus, Georgia up in here. Man, what up? 777. Oh. We got Karina up in here tapping in from LA. Matter of fact, y'all, while I'm talking, I think I just got the spirit, man, of my homeboy who recently just passed, man. Let me dedicate this to him real quick. Let me give him a shout out, because that was my real deal stomp down guy. Y'all might not know him, but I do. We talking about a North Minneapolis legend. We're talking about Chaz Millionaire, y'all. And unfortunately, he just passed. I'm talking about, this is one of the realest dudes you ever want to meet. You know what I mean? Just one of the realest, man. He definitely got love from the whole city. He definitely finna get some love from me. So I am definitely finna give my man's Chaz Millionaire a moment of silence. This one's for you, Charles. I could go on just thinking about some of the good times, but that's my man. I really would stop. Oh, hold up, y'all couldn't even see Charlie. Hold on, let me change screens real quick. I forgot that I got it all on this extra thing. But this my man's Charlie, man. He was a staple of North Minneapolis. He was in the radio community for 40 plus years. Real down brother. My man's Chaz Millionaire. Yeah, man, it's my guy, man. We didn't got money together. He didn't brought me business. We done done a lot, man. That's my man. He was a real shining light, man. He was always used to lift brothers up. Wasn't nobody cooler than Charlie. He used to play the coolest jazz every Sunday too. You know, it was almost kind of like, you know, it was kind of like almost like a big thing being cool with the dude that was talking to everybody on the radio. But Charlie was real down to earth though. But this one's for you, baby. And that's kind of somber. I know that's kind of somber and all, but that's my boy. And I was just thinking about it. Had to go ahead and put him on the map real quick. Shout out to Charlie. What's up, man? Y'all want some more? Y'all tap it in another night, man. It's real late. I ain't even get a proper roll call. It's hundreds of y'all up in here, and I ain't get the roll call. So y'all must be tired. All right, look. All right, okay. I ain't gonna hold you, but I'm a mold you, fold you, and scold you about being on code, and you know I got 4 words for you. I need you to go ahead and subscribe for the vibes, like for the spike, comment your vomit, like for the spike in the algorithm. That's what the like do. Do that. Comment your vomit, share if you care about getting crime everywhere. Please do that on the platforms that you are on, Jones. And just to bring it all the way home. I appreciate that. What's poppin', G? How you feeling? I was about to dip out, man. Wasn't nobody saying nothing. Now y'all want to talk. I thought y'all was done with the crime. You come back tomorrow, man. Matter of fact, I'm gonna go ahead and dip out because I got a full day of videos tomorrow. I'm trying to do a record tomorrow. I don't think I've done 5 broadcasts in a day, but I wanna do 5 2-hour broadcasts tomorrow. So I gotta start early, including the crime and all of that. You know what I mean? So I told you I got this goal that I'm going for, y'all, but I can't tell y'all about it. I'm gonna just talk about it when I get there. But if y'all notice, I'm working. I'm really working, trying to give y'all some quality content. You know what I'm saying? I do my thing a little bit more differently. I like to do it live. I really don't like to record videos, although I'm going to I am going to start recording videos and putting them up in between the live. So I'm going to need y'all to support them too. If you could, you know, but those are going to be like the little bite-sized things because there's a lot of news that comes out that I want to put my opinion on and I want to touch, but I don't want to make it a 2-hour stream. You know what I'm saying? I try to make the long streams for, you know, phenomenons in communities, whatever said community that might be, right? But I want to do a lot of bite-sized this, that, and the others. You know what I'm saying? What you say? You said just made it to work for that double OT. That's right. Well, as long as I can get you through your joint, you know what I'm saying? Hey, I appreciate you tapping in. That means I'm providing some quality entertainment for y'all, some quality content, and I appreciate that. That's what my aim is, right? we be going on these journeys and doing this stuff together. But I ain't gonna hold you. I'm gonna mold you, fold you, scold you about being on the code. Love, peace, blessings, and aloha. I'm out the Doha for Shoha. Yeah, already know.